really the stability of Western society at some points. You think about through wars and assassinations and popes and presidents and prime ministers. I mean, this queen has been there as a steady voice, a steady hand. There's enormous love for her and the way she devoted herself to her country selflessly for decades. So we're looking at adding some guests to our show that will be able to tell us more about her and really give her role in history a proper context and perspective. We are also going to talk with Senator Tim Scott. He is sort of out there as now the voice of the Republican Party on a number of big issues, from police reform to now this abortion debate. His home state of South Carolina is grappling with their state laws and how they're going to handle that. And we will have full representation from the Democrats, from the left side. They'll always have a voice at the table. So we're working with the White House. We hope to have an exciting announcement on a guest from the White House very shortly, but certainly a number of lawmakers and Democratic candidates that we're working with this week too. And as soon as we have that voice, we'll announce it. And it is 9/11. And of course, we're going to memorialize and commemorate, as we always do each year as Americans, the people we lost that day, the great sacrifices of heroes who ran into danger that day. And we've got former New York Yankees Andy Pettitte with us, which I think is going to be really interesting.
Nice.
Because if you'll remember, he was in the World Series when President Bush, 43, threw out that pitch. And the whole country at that moment was united, cheering for him as the person who was leading us as commander-in-chief through those dark, dark days. Andy was with him that day. And we want to talk to him about what that day was like, how sports can bring Americans together. Are we losing the ability to do that? Are sports getting too politicized? So we thought that would be kind of a unique take on the day. So we look forward to talking to Andy too.
Love it. Shannon Bream, thank you so much for your time.
You got it.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and NewstalkSTL.com. This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-251-8381 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-251-8381. That's 800-251-8381. What do you have to lose? Call 800-251-8381. That's 800-251-8381.
I did a site visit, and the space is absolutely incredible.
Este's Reiki Clinic is opening another studio across town.
But there's a lot to wrap up.
But staffing an entire office requires more than just deep breathing.
Receptionist and at least 4 new practitioners.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
If you want to pay off high-interest debt faster, it's time to refinance with American Financing, America's home for home loans. Get a free mortgage review and learn about custom loans that can save you up to $1,000 a month. If you start soon, you may close in as fast as 10 days. Call 866-886-2026. That's 866-886-2026. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334 and MLSConsumerAccess.org.
Columbo and Katie.
The D.C. mayor declares emergency over migrant buses from Texas and Arizona. We'll discuss this and get the weekend weather forecast at 2:45.
Weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
Summer means you're constantly on the go, so let Steph's Pizza make mealtime simple and good. Dine in, pick up, delivery, even DoorDash. Steph's Pizza is known for great pizza, but they also have pasta and more. With 4 locations in St. Peter's on Jungerman, on Elm at 370 in Zumbell, on Winghaven Boulevard right next to MasterCard, and in the Chesterfield Valley on Long Road. Check them out at Steph'sPizza.com and simplify your summer meals.
Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michaels has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Save money and get quality at Michaels. Plus, your installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michaels. You can shop in store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home. Check out everything that Michaels has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Vision Marketing and Promo is your one-stop image shop. Signs, banners, embroidery, print services, apparel, promotional products, and more. Just 2 blocks from 370 and Elm Street, Vision Marketing and Promo is fast and convenient, and our experts can help guide you through. Vision even offers customized graphic design to bring your ideas to life. Call today at 636-400-1500 or come see us at 3734 Elm Street in St. Charles. Vision Marketing and Promotions. Success starts with vision.
It's not often you can make a real difference in the lives of kids. When you volunteer as an optimist, you'll be helping kids take a positive turn in their lives. As their role model, mentor, leader, and friend, you'll help young people develop positive attitudes and approaches to life that will enable them to excel in school and in our community. So if you care about kids, give yourself a present by volunteering today. Optimists, bringing out the best in kids.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
These Democrats and liberals will stop at nothing.
News, analysis, and opinion.
What's going on?
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent extremism.
Called half the country fascist and extremist.
We're in a battle for the soul of this nation.
The government's August employment report updated boosters.
We're not going to eradicate COVID-19. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home.
I would have been there with him. And new beginnings.
Now that you're here, you have to stay forever.
What is this all? What would Jack have thought about this?
I thought he'd be gone. The Shell Collector, streaming now, exclusively on Fox Nation. Sign up at foxnation.com.
Good morning. It's Friday, September 9th. This is the Fox News Rundown. President Biden travels to Ohio today as semiconductor manufacturer Intel breaks ground on a $20 billion complex outside Columbus. And Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks and Joint Chiefs Vice Chair Christopher Grady will be attending the Pentagon's annual 9/11 Staff Memorial Observance. I'm Sue Guzman on the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and NewstalkSTL.com. The candidates.
We're going to win this campaign.
The issues.
Gas prices, Biden inflation.
The election news, analysis, and opinion you won't get anywhere else. Decision 2022 happens.
There's a backlash coming
on News Talk STL.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-649-8619. 800-649-8619. 800-649-8619. That's 800-649-8619.
Did you grow up in an alcoholic or dysfunctional home? Were you abused or suffered childhood trauma at the hands of a parent or caregiver? Have you tried self-help or counseling without success? ACA can help. ACA is a 12-step recovery program for adults whose lives are affected as a result of being raised in an alcoholic or dysfunctional family. To find out how others like you have found healing from traumatic childhoods, go to adultchildren.org. That's adultchildren.org.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
It's fund the police.
News, analysis, opinion.
The hypocrisy of the left is on full display.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, I am excited about a new streaming platform called VidGo. VidGo gives you the freedom to be entertained at a price you can afford. VidGo has all of my favorite live sports networks. They have a great choice of news. All of that for $59 a month. You deserve the freedom to be entertained at a price you and your family can afford. Please go to vidgo, vidgo.com/Bill to check it out. On this Friday, always I have believed in the ability of Americans to understand essential situations largely out of self-interest. Good example is the election of Donald Trump in 2016. Voters could easily see that Mr. Trump lacked self-discipline and was going to uproot convention in Washington. It was obvious. But that's what millions of folks wanted after 8 years of President Obama and creeping government control. So Trump won, and so did the voters who cared about economic freedom and obeying the law. President Trump ran the economy efficiently, stopped border anarchy, and supported law enforcement. Now we have a divided country once again, but I'm not so sure many of my countrymen understand the Biden experience. Yes, working folks are suffering economically. Certainly the criminal justice system is in tatters. And culturally, Mr. Biden has largely defined his opposition as anti-democracy. We all know those things. So you would think the president and his progressive allies would be done. I mean, how much more evidence is needed before voters revolt against bad policies and foolish rhetoric? But I don't see the revolt, especially in the big cities. I see acceptance of terrible policies and incompetent leadership. I hope I'm wrong. I hope in the midterm elections, American voters send a message. We need effective and honest government. Back after this. AMAC is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits, insightful news, and a magazine full of uncensored content. They are pushing back against efforts to defund the police, weaken the borders, and corrupt our youth. But they need your help. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's amac.us. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Patchy fog, otherwise pretty nice again this morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s across the metro area under clear skies. Pleasant afternoon, a warm one, the high 86 with the lower humidity. The humidity starts to climb, the clouds build overnight, a few spot showers on Saturday, but most of that should be south and east of the metro St. Louis area. There is a chance for rain on Sunday morning, and it will turn cooler, 85 on Saturday, mid-70s on Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert Meteorologist Kent Earhart.
News, analysis, opinion. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's get the conversation started, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
We are now just about 21 years after 9/11. Man, 21 years. basically a generation removed from that awful, awful day. And you remember when it happened. And in the years after that, we said, we'll never forget. We will never forget. We actually have a 9/11 memorial banner in the NewstalkSTL studios. Never forget, it says. But are we forgetting as a nation? Well, it's easy to, because we're basically a generation removed from 9/11 now. A little bit later on this morning, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker joins us, former Governor Scott Walker. He's now the president of the Young America's Foundation, and YAF chapters all over the country are putting a lot of effort into memorializing those who were murdered by terrorists on September 11th, 2001. And he's going to tell us what they're doing and, more importantly, why they're doing it. I'm Mike Ferguson. Good morning. Happy Friday. Glad you're making News Talk STL a part of it. The election season here always has special interest groups, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, there are special interest groups on the right side and the left side both. But what happens if one of them kind of flouts the same tax laws and restrictions that everybody else has to abide by? Is that the equivalent of cheating? Well, Mike O'Neill from Landmark Legal Foundation had a lot of thoughts on that, especially after an investigation that shows one of the nation's largest teachers unions, which is one of the most active political organizations in the country, says, nope, we're not engaging in campaigns or politics, so don't treat our tax returns like that. What does that mean to our process and maybe even us? Here's that conversation with Mike O'Neill. Looks like in some areas, interesting article from the Washington Examiner that was out and a few others, that some teachers unions, we know they're very left wing. We know they are basically extensions of the Democratic Party. That's not a real big secret for anybody. But it looks like they may be playing a little fast and loose with some campaign financing and funding and reporting laws. What's been discovered?
It looks like it. We'll have to see. Ultimately, it's the incumbent upon the IRS to determine this. Well, look, as you were just saying, we all know about the incredible political influence of teachers' unions, and this in particular, the American Federation of Teachers, or the AFT. Now, the AFT, this organization has backed keeping our kids at home during the pandemic, mandatory vaccines, pushing a radical gender ideology. And they've done this, and they've done enormous damage to our kids. I mean, we're just seeing the whole, how it's all shaking out now. We've got 20 years of progress erased in 2 years. We've got an incredible mental health and emotional crisis amongst our young people. Well, how does AFT accomplish this? How do they implement this radical agenda? Well, they do this by wielding political power. And you see this every election cycle. You see AFT and you see other teacher unions, but we're talking about AFT here. They conduct get out the vote drives. They mobilize voters. They mobilize their union members to go door to door to get people out to vote or to fill out those mail-in ballots that we've all talked about and we've all seen. They have phone banks. They hold rallies. They generally just campaign for selected candidates. You even see AFT leadership going door to door, knocking on doors, encouraging people to get out and vote for the AFT selected candidates. So there really is no doubt about that this organization wields tremendous political power and can really influence the outcome of elections and can engage in campaign activities. Now let's talk about this. Generally speaking, there's nothing wrong with this, except, and there's a big exception here, and this is what the law always focuses on, is these exceptions. AFT needs to disclose, and in some cases, in particular cases, pay taxes on these expenditures made to support campaign activities. Now they need to disclose this on their tax returns and let me get a little bit particular here. I don't want to get too into the weeds with the tax law, but it's important to talk about the details because the details matter in law. When the AFT, or any union for that matter, uses general treasury revenue, and that's revenue that's mainly derived from teachers' dues, union members paid dues. When they use that money to engage in to finance campaign activities, i.e., get out the vote drives, phone banks, rallies, paying for the salaries of their membership to go door to door, or their leadership to engage on a bus tour. The union, or the AFT in this particular case, needs to disclose those activities and pay taxes on those activities on their tax returns. And the AFT doesn't do this. And these tax returns are publicly available. Anybody can look at them for exempt organizations. You can look at it and you can see AFT's tax return. On the question on their tax return, it says whether AFT engages in indirect or direct political campaign activities, all the sorts of activities I'm describing. AFT answers no. And you say, why is that? That's odd. How do they reconcile the fact that every election cycle, in 2016, you see their leadership giving speeches at the Democrat National Convention. In 2020, they hold a bus tour that goes through 25 cities holding campaign rallies for Democrat candidates. In 2018, you see the leadership going door to door for congressional candidates. How do they reconcile the fact that their tax return says they don't engage in political campaign activities with the fact that every election cycle they do engage in political campaign activities? And the organization to answer this question is clearly the IRS. Now, we know we all have questions about the IRS, and those are well-founded questions. But what do we see? We saw Joe Biden saying that there's going to be $80 billion for the IRS now, and there's going to be thousands and thousands of new IRS agents. And Landmark Legal Foundation is asking a simple question. It's saying, look, this is a legitimate question that needs to be answered. It's incumbent upon the IRS to answer this. This is a massive organization with 1.5 million members, with a $200 million budget. IRS, you need to devote some of those resources to taking a look at the AFT.
And I'm not going to hold my breath that that's exactly what they're going to do. Okay, so two questions here, Mike, on this. One, sure. Is it possible that they're saying, well, that's our political action committee. That's the other side of the shop, basically, that we hear. And what would be maybe a conservative equivalent, Right to Life, National Rifle Association, any of those organizations or think tanks or advocacy groups that would say, okay, these groups have to abide by these laws? Because I don't hear you saying target the AFT. I hear you saying that, hey, these are the laws that govern everybody. If everybody else has to do it, you have to do it.
Right. Your last question, to answer your last question first.
Sure.
It's interesting. You see peer level unions. You see the NEA, and actually the Landmark Legal Foundation has a history with looking at the AFT, looking at the NEA. You could Google that, and that's years and years ago. But if you look at the NEA or the National Education Association, the other big teachers union in this country, or the SEIU, another massive labor union, and you look at their tax returns, and they are actually different. They actually disclose that they answer that question that I was talking about on the tax return in the affirmative. They say, yes, we do engage in political campaign activities. Now, to get to so peer level organizations actually answer this in the affirmative, where AFT answers it in the negative. And again, the question here is, well, why do other labor unions say yes here and the AFT says no? I think, again, it's incumbent upon the IRS to answer this question. Now, to answer your first question regarding PAC expenditures and political organizations, there's called a 527 organization. That's a PAC essentially, but that's a 527 is a designation under the tax code. PAC is a designation under the Federal Elections Campaign Act, the FECA. If you look at their disclosures, those organizations are required to file disclosure reports. We looked at this. We conducted our due diligence at Landmark, and we could not find any disclosures that state that correspond to the sorts of expenditures we describe in our complaint. In other words, if you look at the PAC disclosure reports for the AFT, all you'll see is contributions to candidates, the $5,000 contribution, the $2,500 contribution. You'll see large 5-figure contributions to other PACs, to other organizations. You don't see any disclosures that describe adequately, or in any way for the matter, the sorts of activities, the political campaign activities we describe in our complaint. The get out the vote drives, the phone banks, the rallies, the salaries paid to AFT union leaders to actually go out and campaign on behalf of these candidates. For heaven's sakes, you see, if you look at the AFT president's leader, Randy Weingarten's Twitter feed, and we have this on our website, landmarklegal.org. You can go and check it out, everything. You see her Twitter feed during the campaign season. She is meeting with campaign workers for Joe Biden's campaign, for Hillary Clinton's campaign, for Kamala Harris. They're going door to door. Well, who's paying her salary during that time when she's engaging in these electioneering activities? The AFT. Well, that is subject to reporting under the tax code.
So, Mike, why is this important for those who aren't engaged directly with, the battle over education and things like this? Obviously, we've got partisan elections, and somebody may say, okay, does this mean that they're cheating, or does it just mean they're flouting the rules? Does it actually affect the electoral process?
Well, they're able to. I think it certainly affects the electoral process because, again, this is a massive labor union that's able to mobilize an incredibly large foot soldiers to engage in their campaign in these electioneering activities, and they are able to by wielding this political power, they are able, as I said before, to implement this radical agenda that has damaged our children. I think indisputably it's damaged our children. And there needs to be an accounting here. There needs to be a moral accounting, and there needs to actually be a financial accounting. And the Internal Revenue Service is the agency we all have our issues with it, but it's the agency that exists to ensure that tax-exempt organizations like the AFT comply with our nation's tax laws.
All right, and of course, if only somebody had warned or questioned whether or not kids would be hurt by everything the unions were fighting for.
Right.
Yeah, gee, if only somebody had said something,
We didn't see that coming at all, did we?
Oh, jeez. Literally, Mike, I have one working eye right now, and we all saw this coming. Even I could see this coming. So, all right, Mike, landmarklegal.org. Appreciate you being back on the program. We're going to post this discussion on our podcast platform as well a little bit later on, and I hope everybody sends it all over the place. Mike, good to talk to you again.
Great talking with you, Mike. Have a great day.
We've got the news roundup coming your way here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL in just about 4 minutes. And don't forget, we are streaming right now. If you're still at the house, look us up on Rumble or on Facebook or on Twitter as well. We are streaming there, and you can find us even on YouTube. Just look up Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Let's get the conversation started, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
While you're suspended there, she evaluates your heart's condition.
St. Louis, it's Joe Pags. Proud to be part of the News Talk STL lineup. Every weeknight from 7 to 10, we'll get together to talk about what's going on. News, analysis, opinion. You won't hear anything like it in St. Louis. The Joe Pags Show, every weeknight at 7 on News Talk STL. Welcome home.
I'm so tired of my water smelling like rotten eggs. Iron foul. It makes my clothes and home smell. And my sink and faucet look dirty. I'm calling Jones Air and Water Treatment for their solution to this pollution.
Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to your pollution. Call now for your free water analysis at 636-899-1040 and live with clean, great-tasting water. That's 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Hey guys, Columbo here, reminding you that if you belong to an organization like a school or a church, or your kids are part of a group or a sports team that needs to raise money, there's no better way to do so than with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. TJ's Pizza has been helping local organizations raise money for over 30 years to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. A local company helping local people, and there's lots of different ways TJ's can help you raise big money fast. Get started now at tjspizza.com.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 101.9, 94.1, and NewstalkSTL.com. Let's get the conversation started, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now. at 314-912-1019.
All right, happy Friday to you. A few of the headlines. Actually, I found a lot of interesting stuff. A lot of stuff to talk about today.
Happy Friday, Mike.
Yes, happy Friday to you as well. As you know, the Queen died. In related news, her 73-year-old son now finally has a job.
Yeah, he does.
We can look at it that way. All right, we'll talk about that throughout the day. It's one of those things where everybody is talking about it, but I don't know really what else to say. Obviously being Americans here, I don't, we just watch it from afar. And, 200 and some odd years ago, we decided we didn't want to live under the monarchy. But there was something about Queen Elizabeth that most of the world really respected and really admired.
Yeah, and they did, and like you said, there's what more can you say? But I am watching the legacy media. They're bending over backwards to try and regurgitate the same things over. I mean, because it is an important thing for a lot of people.
Sure, it is. Yeah.
But for a lot of people, they just don't really care so much.
I know, so I don't know what I can add to it.
I know, and then you have the hosts of these news stations. They talk like this.
Yeah.
It's so somber atmosphere and situation.
Well, anytime a world leader dies, it's an effect. It's a massive story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal for a lot of people. With the monarchy, though, they don't really have any political power, so it's a unique situation there.
But it is interesting how the social media is attacking them,
attacking the
monarchy.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. They're not woke. They're old school.
Charles is.
Well, he might appear to be, but they're going after him.
Now it's King Charles.
It's King Charles. Well, that's not exactly a woke thing.
Yeah, but no, he's like totally on the environmental stuff and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he's kind of woke, but who knows how long he'll be there, and then whoever his oldest kid is, that'll be the next king, and then they're pretty young, they'll be there for a while.
And then the grandkids, that could go on forever.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's gone on for centuries as it is right now. Also, here in the stateside, on our side of the pond, a left-wing city declares a state of emergency because they now have to deal with illegal immigrants in their communities, and that's because of all the busing that's been happening from conservative states out to this particular city. I'll tell you who it is and what are they saying. And it's funny because they're now parroting, I don't think they realize it, they're now parroting some of the language that conservatives, including Eric Schmidt, have been saying for months.
Over a year.
Yeah. And so they're now saying some of the same things, and we're like, yeah, told you so.
Yeah.
Sucks, doesn't it?
It's the same. In fact, I heard the same exact thing they were saying.
Yep. I've got that audio. We'll play that a little bit later on here. Also in Missouri, a lawsuit has been filed to stop the marijuana referendum vote. I don't think it's going to succeed, but I'll tell you what their claims are. Basically, it's somebody who makes a living in one of the, kind of the Drug-Free America coalitions. I mean, their job is to try to convince young people to not do any sort of drugs.
Oh, yeah.
And so she obviously wants to stop this from becoming legalized because I think it goes on the ballot. Legal Mo 22 has a very good chance of being passed by voters.
And that's a noble cause, but it really starts in the home. I mean,
without a doubt.
I understand their goal and everything, but you've got to nip that thing in the bud from childhood.
And we've got plenty of questions about Legal Mode 22. In about another week and a half, their campaign director, John Payne, has agreed to be on the program. So we are going to talk to him about a lot of those concerns. So that's just a few of the things that I've got on my radar here today. Sunday is September 11th. And, I got to tell you, we said at the time, never forget, we'll never forget, we'll never forget. But I think that we're forgetting collectively. Yeah. I really do. 7:05, former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker going to be on the program with us again. Always good to have the governor on. He's now the president of the Young America's Foundation, and they are making an effort to make sure that the current generation it's not about remembering, because a lot of them weren't even born yet, believe it or not. We are a generation removed from 9/11, but to tell the story and try to use that generation to remind the rest of us to remember. Also throughout the day, 314-912-1019, your reflections, your memories, we would welcome those as well throughout the program here. All right. I just teased this a second ago. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser declares a public emergency because of all of the illegals that are now dumped on her city. And so basically over 9,400 illegal immigrants have been bussed from Arizona and Texas and just dropped off in Washington, D.C., and now they have to deal with it, and now they're mad and saying, believe it or not, they're saying Republican governors created the crisis for them, not the Biden administration.
No, not his policies.
Republican governors created this.
Mike, it is so insane and so hypocritical. And you know what? Think about that. The 9,000 that they took, that's a large number.
That's a large
That
number.
is a drop in the bucket of what they receive daily.
Exactly. So right around 6:20, I've got some audio from their city council meeting and one of the city council members. And it's funny because she thinks she is so poignant. And the conservatives were over here saying, we've been telling you that for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Now you're finally getting a dose of it.
And actually, if you really want to think about it, during Trump's administration, trying to get that wall built and everything, he went through hell. And they mentioned it many, many times constantly about the problem at the border. So this has been going on for quite a long time.
Yeah. And any time that the left who opposes any sort of border security, any of those people right now have absolutely zero credibility to complain about their city's resources or their state's resources being overwhelmed because of illegal immigration. So basically they could get all ideologically indignant from afar, saying, how dare you complain about that when you're the ones being affected by it? But oh my goodness, now we're being affected. I can't believe you did that to us.
Right.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh, geez. Okay.
It's crazy world stuff.
Oh, it is. All right. Lawsuit filed in Jefferson City to try to block a vote on the recreational marijuana referendum. Now, this is interesting. I think we're going to talk about this in more depth at 6:35. But what's happened is a lady named Joyce Sweeney, who is she's like a director of Drug-Free Coalitions of America, the chapter in mid-Missouri. She's filed that saying two things. One, she says that there were, because remember, Legal Mo 22 barely had enough signatures to qualify this for the ballot. Barely. And apparently in some local areas around the state, some signatures were declared to be invalid on the petitions, and the Secretary of State's office reviewed them and said, no, those look good, and qualified them. And so she's arguing that the Secretary of State should not have done that. And then she's also arguing that because the referendum has so many different angles to it, from records expungement to legalizing to who gets a license to all of this sort of stuff, she says it's too broad, and that is in violation of the Missouri Constitution. So hearings are already underway on that. I don't think that either of those claims is going to withstand the courtroom scrutiny. Judges are very hesitant to knock stuff off the ballot once the signatures are verified to get it on. But the argument is there, and we do know that there are a lot of people who really don't want this on the ballot because there is a good chance that it passes in November. So 6:35, we will have that conversation as well. Let's see here. What do we got here? This is an interesting survey. YouGov did an interesting survey, and we'll talk about this later on. Maybe 6:50. I think we'll do this around 6:50. Should there be an age limit for politicians in the United States?
That's a great question.
It is. And I was really surprised because the answers from Republicans, Democrats, and independents, the number of people who said yes, almost uniform across the board. How many, according to the survey, how many Americans, what percentage of Americans do you think say, yeah, we should have an age limit?
I would say probably, based on what's going on recently,
Yeah.
about 80%.
You're very close. So 6:50, I'll tell you what the actual results of that are. And then I'll ask the question, should there be an age limit on politicians in the United States? We have age minimums. You have to be at least this old.
Right.
But should we have something that says you can only be up to this old? There are jobs in this country where there are age limits in some jobs.
Well, my biggest thing is if you're in a position like that, serving us for 50 years, and you've got those connections, it's just too much. I think it's insecure.
Clearly, a lot of people agree with you. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Cardinals lost to the Nationals yesterday. I was there. Yadi and Waino, by the way, have tied the all-time Major League record for the number of starts as a battery. Waino's been the pitcher. Yachty's been the catcher to start a game 324 times. That ties the all-time record. Next time that they start together, they're going to break the new record, which will probably never be broken. All right.
Oh, that's Major League Baseball wide.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Britons have a new king following the loss of the only monarch that most of them ever knew. Queen Elizabeth, who reigned for 70 years, died yesterday at 96. People from all walks of life paying tribute to the UK's longest-serving monarch, from outside Buckingham Palace to the halls of the U.S. Congress, where Republican leader Mitch McConnell took to the Senate floor.
She guided venerable institutions through modern times using timeless virtues like duty, dignity, and sacrifice.
King Charles III has ascended the throne and will address his subjects and the world later today. As the southern border crisis intensifies, Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is taking action. He's planning to start busing illegal aliens who arrive in Florida north to Delaware. This Sunday will mark the 21st anniversary of the terrorist attacks on 9/11 back in 2001. Communities all over America planning remembrances. Retired New York City Fire Captain Matt Bruce, he was injured during the attacks on the World Trade Center, says he'll be attending a 9/11 remembrance in Tampa, Florida on Sunday.
We're having a big observance at the Mission Barbecue on West Water Street. We're going to have the Tampa City Fire Department, Hillsborough County Fire Department, Hillsborough County Sheriff, Tampa City Police, as well as some military outfits that'll be there, retired firefighters from New York, retired police officers from New York, and we're going to make it quite the to-do on Sunday here in Tampa.
Captain Bruce speaking with the Salem Radio Network. 2 Cobb County, Georgia sheriff deputies have died in the line of duty, shot and killed while serving a warrant in suburban Atlanta last evening. 2 suspects are in custody. Wall Street this morning, Dow futures up 266 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
The future of
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We had a lot of construction overnight. There's still some leftover volume on 44 eastbound downtown as a result, but all the lanes are open. The Musial Bridge was backed up, but that's doing better. We also had a vehicle fire overnight, 44 eastbound before the Washington exit. Now that traffic is backed up almost to Highway 50, so that's about an 8 to 10 minute delay. That's 44 eastbound approaching 100 Washington. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. Some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Perfectly crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Patchy fog, otherwise pretty nice again this morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s across the metro area under clear skies. Pleasant afternoon, a warm one, the high 86 with the lower humidity. The humidity starts to climb, the clouds build overnight, a few spot showers on Saturday, but most of that should be south and east of the metro St. Louis area. There is a chance for rain on Sunday morning, and it will turn cooler, 85 on Saturday, mid 70s on Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464.
Report cards may not always be the most fun things for kids to get, but they are important. Their grades show how well they're doing in class and where they might need improvement. But why shouldn't schools get grades too? And shouldn't parents be able to see how their child's school compares to others? We at the Show Me Institute strongly believe the answer is yes. And that's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on several categories, such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Now you can. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Mike Ferguson.
This is the kind of adventure I usually have to force upon us, and here it is, falling into our laps.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
They're buying it.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Watch a couple squats, son.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin God.
Hard to believe, I think, for a lot of people when I say this, you're going to go, oh, yeah, wait, Sunday is September 11th.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a lot of conversation about that. I mean, the farther we get away from the actual tragic events, the more I'm going to maintain that we are collectively forgetting about that.
Absolutely.
So I welcome your memories and I welcome your reflections on that throughout the morning here. 314-912-1019. Matter of fact, in 1 hour from right now, former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker is going to be with us. And this is one of those unusual situations. Normally, not to pull back the curtain too much on how we do the radio show, but I chase down and I ask for and I request and I invite the guest to come on the show. But Governor Walker's folks contacted me the other day and said, hey, can Governor Walker come back on News Talk? He really wants to talk about 9/11 and Young America's Foundation's effort to get the country to kind of remember again. And we always love to have Governor Walker on the program. But, you know, I was doing a little bit of production work after the show yesterday, Gabe, and I'm in the production studio across the hall over there. And we've got a great big 9/11 Never Forget.
Yes.
I mean, that's just kind of how we roll here. And so I'm looking at this while I'm producing this. And I'm like, you know, we remember this here. We talk about this here.
Yeah.
And it ends up being almost like a conservative, you know, talk thing, conservative news thing. And it shouldn't be. This is one of those things that should go across the spectrum of the country. I mean, I remember obviously what happened that day and how confused everybody was on that particular day. And I remember watching on television when the towers fell, and I remember hearing about the first plane hitting the first tower. I was driving my daughter to preschool, and I remember exactly where I was on the road, because the reporter who broke in to tell us to break the news, and here's breaking news, it was obviously a colleague of mine, it was a friend of mine. And so I remember all that confusion, and then the absolute fury when we figured out what actually happened. And so you look at all of the people, almost entirely Americans, who were murdered that day by ideological Islamic terrorists. And we have just gotten away from this. So we said, never forget. We'll never forget. We'll never forget. Well, how many generations are we removed from Pearl Harbor? And we've all but forgotten, unless you look up a history website or a history textbook, and then you might see a few paragraphs about it. Occasionally a movie is made about it. Why is it important to remember, guys? What do you think?
Well, if you forget, then it can be repeated.
That's one. Yep.
I'm actually wondering if this isn't just sort of the natural healing process, essentially a national healing process over time. As the memory of these things go on, obviously its impact has still it made its impact. Pearl Harbor made its impact. We entered the war. Everything changed from then on. We've been in a completely different posture since.
Yeah.
9/11 hit. All of us who were there, at the time experienced it, that impact was felt. Hopefully we changed the way we look at things. Hopefully we changed how we perceive the world, how we act in the world, as it relates to the things that kind of contributed to all that. And that effect continues, but the memory of the day itself just kind of becomes a scar as opposed to an open wound.
Yeah, because some of the reactions that we've had weren't always good.
Right.
Yeah. Have you flown lately?
Yeah.
You give up your constitutional rights in the airport because of 9/11.
Hello, Patriot Act.
The Patriot
Act. Oh, that's a big one.
And we're dealing with the consequences of
Right now.
that knee-jerk reaction. And hey, I was among one of the Patriot Act cheerleaders at the time.
I think a lot of people
I will
were, Gabe.
admit that. Well, of course. I mean, a lot there was like 70-something% support for the war in Iraq.
Right.
Right?
70-something%
in a political sense is basically everybody.
Yeah.
So we all had a certain reaction to 9/11 that wasn't necessarily the greatest.
One thing I noticed is that, Mike, you mentioned Pearl Harbor, and I had actually an uncle who was there. It lasted generations of changing an attitude and changing the way we actually think about war. When 9/11 hit, it seems like it was a much shorter transition from going, being gung-ho, patriot, to now where we are.
Yeah, what's interesting is, remember that when we were hit on Pearl Harbor, I say remember, obviously none of us in this room were around at the time, but the United States was not a superpower.
Not at all.
I mean, we weren't the tough kid on the block.
They were neutral, actually.
Yeah. And it was it Churchill or somebody in Europe, basically said, or maybe there was somebody who said, you've awakened a sleeping giant or dragon or whatever. And
Japanese general, I believe.
Yeah. And so we discovered how strong we were at that time. When 9/11 happened, I think for so many of us, myself included, it never dawned on us that somebody would have the gumption to attack us. I mean, we've had, military bases hit. You look at Libya and places like that, but to attack us on our soil, to actually hit us, to not be scared to death of us, that was jarring. And then at that point, of course, we were still the only remaining superpower. And then going in and just knocking stuff down at will in the Middle East at that point. So we gone from there. And then now we look at the debacle in Afghanistan and seeing that we can be beaten militarily.
Yeah.
And generally because of the will or lack of will of leadership politically.
And then think about this too. Back in 1993, before 9/11 happened, we had already been bombed at the World Trade Center in the garage.
Right.
And actually, they say that the Clinton administration knew about this and knew about the activities going on with these people, but they thought that they weren't that big of a threat.
We learned some hard lessons on there. So throughout the day, 314-912-1019. Welcome your thoughts and your reflections as well. All right, last couple minutes we got here before the next information segment. Obviously, you've heard the news. Queen Elizabeth died at the age of 96 yesterday, which we were reflecting on. We said, with the language that the Buckingham Palace is using, that it seems like it was imminent. It turns out to be the case. So England now has King Charles. There will be a coronation down the road, I'm sure, in the next couple of weeks or so, but he is now the King of England.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't really change anything for the English people or for the UK in general. But the world's reaction, there really was something different about Queen Elizabeth I because of her longevity. I mean, 70 years in any one world leadership position, even though she didn't have any real political power. She was still looked at as a world leader with the monarch. She was a steady pace. And you look at it, she was her first prime minister who served under her monarchy was Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
And then the last one was
World
this.
War II.
Yeah, World War II. And the last one was appointed just 3 days before her death. This, I think her name's Lisa Truss. And so you look at all, what's that?
Liz
Truss. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Truss.
Yes.
And so she's now the prime minister. So she'll be the last person, obviously, under Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth met with, I think she was queen for something like 15 U.S. presidents and met with 14 of them.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. For whatever reason, she did not meet with LBJ. I don't know why. But she didn't. Other than that, she met with every single U.S. president during her term, and she was in her 20s when she became queen.
Yeah, and that's the longevity of her reign. Right. So yeah, it's a very interesting life story that she lived, and there's some great stories that people have been telling about her online, everything like that. I got to share one with you guys. That
sounds really good. And as a related note, her 73-year-old son now finally has a job. 314-912-1019. Just ahead, a left-wing U.S. city finally acknowledges what everybody else has been saying for a long time. I'll tell you from their mouth, you can hear it from them, and maybe they'll wake up to the problems at the southern border. Maybe not. It's a crazy situation. That happens at 6:20 right here, 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up, get up.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
If you're coming in on eastbound 44 this morning, there's quite a delay from close to Highway 50 almost to 100 Washington. That's due to an overnight vehicle fire. MoDOT saying it'll be 8 o'clock before they can get the remnants of that vehicle fire out of the way. They currently have the right lane blocked, so you can count on a delay. That's the biggest we have. We had some construction work downtown that really snarled things, but that has been picked up. That was on eastbound 44. Everything looks good now, headed for all the bridges. This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good. Some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Adam, man, your aunt parties are the best. I mean, you always find the best kitchens with all the crumbs.
Thanks, man. I love finding these homes to do this at.
Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
Call All Solutions Pest Control today at 636-486-7888 and learn more about our special $67 introductory offer, or visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
The Range St. Louis West is Missouri's best indoor shooting range. With 20 climate-controlled lanes, over 70 firearms available to rent, and the best staff in the business, you're guaranteed to enjoy every minute of your time with us. Our impressive showroom is full of the latest and greatest offerings from the best manufacturers in the business. Need an optic, spare magazines, holster, or any other accessory? Let our professional staff help you find exactly what you need and get it installed for you. Mention you heard us on Newstalk STL and save $100 on your membership and enjoy even more goodies. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
I'm Missouri's Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft. Voting is a right and a responsibility. You can always vote a provisional ballot on Election Day, but using a photo ID is the best way to vote. A valid Missouri driver's license, for example. If you need an ID, my office can help you get one for free. Either way, your vote counts. Check out sos.mo.gov or call my office. And remember, in Missouri, if you're registered, you can vote.
Sponsored by Missouri Secretary of State.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point. I love summer. Truthfully, I love all the seasons, but I'd be perfectly fine with 9 months of summer and one each of the other 3. They each have their charm, but for me, summer is where true happiness lives. It's the sunshine and even the heat. I'm at my happiest with the sun on my skin and my toes in a pool, or on summer nights with fireflies flitting about and cicadas and tree frogs chirping. So as we roll into September, I always find myself feeling a bit wistful, maybe even melancholy. Not that September doesn't have its own merits, like the start of football and the promise of playoff baseball as we enter the home stretch of the season. Speaking of the home stretch, we're in it for the midterms as well. Just 2 months until Election Day. While some may rightly refer to this as campaign silly season, there's a certain excitement and buzz to it, particularly for us political junkies. The polls are more meaningful now, and while there's cause for optimism for Republicans, to mix and mangle metaphors, just as in the sporting realm, we cannot afford to take our eye off the ball. It's imperative to stay focused, stay on message, and finish strong so that we're not faced with a losing season and the winner of our discontent.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter at SmoozyQ and keep listening to 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Because that's where the votes are getting stolen. When you get into the facts and logic and reason thing, it drives me crazy because you're right. I call it the oh my God virus.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
All right, about 12 minutes from right now, I'll tell you about the lawsuit designed to stop you from voting on the marijuana legalization referendum in Missouri. That's been filed in Cole County Court. I'll give you the rundown of what's happening there. And remember, it's 7:05. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker is going to be on the program with us. It's been a couple months, I think, since he's been on the program. So I'm looking forward to chatting with him. Once again, I'm Mike Ferguson. It is 6:21. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Ken Williams here as well. And Gabe is like scheming and working on something over there.
So, yes. You'll probably see it on the Twitter feed.
All right, there we go. All right, News Talk STL on Twitter if you want to see whatever he's working on there. Okay, so it's funny, but it's not funny because it's a very, very serious situation here regarding the southern border. But Washington, D.C. is one of the cities targeted by Governor Greg Abbott, Governor Ducey in Arizona. And they say, you guys want to constantly complain and insult us for wanting border security, for complaining about illegal immigration and what it's doing to our communities and doing to our state. Fine. You deal with them. And they're loading them up on buses and sending them to cities like Chicago, cities like Washington, D.C., cities like New York City, and places like that. And the mayor of New York City, Muriel Bowser, has now declared a public emergency. Over 9,400 illegal immigrants have been dumped on her doorstep, and she doesn't like it. They don't have the resources. How
dare they?
Anybody else complain about not having the resources to deal with illegal immigration? Imagine that. So, city council member, and her name is Brienne Nadeau. She was speaking at the council meeting, and listen to the language that she's using to argue against the busing to her city. It's what conservatives have been saying for months.
The governors of Texas and Arizona have created this crisis, and the federal government has not stepped up to assist the District of Columbia. So we, along with our regional partners, will do what we've always done. We'll rise to the occasion. We've learned from border towns like El Paso and Brownsville. And in many ways, the governors of Texas and Arizona have turned us into a border town. We don't know how long this will take to resolve. We don't know how long they will continue busing. And so the right thing to do here is to be prepared to ensure we can greet every bus. We can get people off on the right foot. We can get them where they want to go. And that will ultimately help them in their immigration process.
Oh, so much to unpack right there. First of all,
Way
the
too much.
governors of Florida, or the governors of Texas and Arizona, have created the crisis.
Yeah.
The governors of Texas and Arizona have created the crisis.
Yeah, that's who's in charge of the border, right?
Not the Biden administration with a wide open border and a green light sign saying, "Hey, come here, get free stuff." The governors,
doesn't that mean something like that?
Yes,
yeah.
you can.
But did you also notice? She goes, "They've turned us into a border."
Yeah. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
You dummy. This is what it's like. We've learned from border towns like El Paso. And did you notice the NPR voice she was using? Anyway, but so yes. Guess what? Border towns have to deal with 9,000 a day. You know, it's like what.
I remember the first time I was interviewing Eric Schmidt, and he goes, "We're all border states now." I went, "Ooh, that's a good line."
Yes, it is.
Well, and then she says, "Well, they've turned us into a border city too." You
Yes.
think, dummy?
Well, at the very end of that, if you'll notice, she was saying that she was trying to get them off the bus and get them onto the right footing.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine for you, but you need to contact the Biden administration and say, let's put a stop to this and do it right.
Yeah, the right
If you want to get them on a right footing.
Yeah, the right footing is show more respect to the country you want to make your home and come into the country legally.
Legally, yeah.
And be vetted. And so that's she goes to help them with their immigration process. Well, their immigration process is by definition illegal, which means they are criminally in the United States. And now you have to deal with it. So when I hear this, I'm thinking, I'm laughing at one point, and the other point I'm saying, what is it going to take? I mean, what is it going to take? Now, the declaration of an emergency means that they get to tap into a bunch of other resources, and they're trying to get federal resources. But Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, Muriel Bowser in Washington, D.C., Eric Adams in New York City, and Gavin Newsom in California, and J.B. Pritzker in Illinois. All of these politicians are still trying to stay all high and mighty and be pro-illegal immigration while being forced to acknowledge this is overwhelming our services and some of our systems.
It's pretty crazy how all it takes to completely dismantle the leftist narrative, the leftist understanding, the leftist policies is to test it.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do.
That's all you have to do to completely upend and destroy their version of reality, is to confront them with real reality.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. And it works in almost every instance.
Exactly. And the Democrat Socialist Party has no bounds when it comes to hypocrisy.
You know, it's funny when one of the liners that Dan Bongino uses, if you listen to him from 11 to 2 here on 101 on our 101.9 signal, is the liner the Mr. Big Voice guy for his show says, if liberal policies work, why aren't they working?
Yes.
That kind of goes along with what you just said.
Very basic knowledge.
Yeah. So we're going to see more and more of that. And the funny part was, I'm watching the video that I pulled that soundbite from, and she just even looks indignant, as though she just said something poignant. We are now a border city too. And the border cities are going, welcome to our world.
Yeah.
This is what your side has caused for us. And you get just a tiny dose of it.
You're not precinct 13, where you don't have to see some of this, or you're precinct 1, actually. 13 gets all the, I'm talking about Hunger Games. They get all of the activity on
districts.
District. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. District. From Hunger Games. The District 1 doesn't see all that. That's what she's in.
Okay.
And then District 12 and 13, I think there was a 13 one there.
13 was nuked.
Right. Well,
Oh wow.
Well,
I haven't seen this movie, so I'm like, I know that I saw a scene where there was like a hornet's nest that killed somebody.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of crazy. Well, but the whole point is, in the Hunger Games, basically, there's the haves in one district, and then all of the have-nots in all the other districts feed to them all of their goods, and all they get to do is party, and everybody else has to work like dogs to deal with things. And that's basically how the leftists kind of seem to want to establish the world. It's like, okay, we sit up on high in our high and mighty areas, and we tell you peons what to do. And of course, it'll be fine. You pat them on the head. Yes, your life, I'm sure, is grand just the way
We did a study, and we know that this is going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yes, we talked to a professor.
Yes.
Somebody wrote a book.
Ivory Tower elitism.
Oh gosh. All right. 314-912-1019.
Well, we've got a listener here, but I think what we need to do is establish that if people want to talk about 9/11,
Yes.
because they're going to be listeners who want to share their stories,
Absolutely.
And so that's where Matt is right now. So I didn't want to change the subject.
Okay, no, that's great. I'm glad you said that because 9/11 is September 11th is Sunday, and so throughout the morning, we will be making sure we've got room for your reflections and thoughts on that. Matt, thanks for being a part of News Talk STL. Oh, there you go, Matt. You're on the air, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
You got it. Tell me what's on your mind.
Oh, well, see, you guys wanted, memories of 9/11. My memory of 9/11 is that I was on active duty at my 10-year mark, and I was coming up on a reenlistment, so I had a choice to make, and so that choice was made for me. But I'd like to actually postulate a theory, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because America has not been the same since 9/11. And the Patriot Act was one thing. The Patriot Act is absolutely a horrifying piece of work, if anybody that's read it. And I've got a degree in Homeland Security, so I've read it, and it's pretty horrifying. But anyway, 9/11 was the loss of almost 3,000 lives. And we're not even going to try and get into the lives that are being lost because of all the pollution that was released onto the city, all the asbestos that was dumped onto the public. So that's still taking lives. So there's still literally fallout from 9/11 going on in New York City. But I can't even look at the towers coming down anymore because it's an act of mass murder. And I can't stand watching those towers come down because you're watching so many people lose their lives. And in an act so utterly horrifying, you could use that to cast a spell on America. And if you understand the term glamour, and I know people, going to go right to the vampire glamour, but glamour in itself is just the power to control people's minds and their thinking. And I look at what happened then, and I look at what's happening now, and just how far this beautiful, glorious lighthouse of a nation has fallen. And you guys were talking about earlier that it just seems to be slipping out of people's memories, that we're losing it, and we're losing the effect of what it had in the beginning of bringing us all together. But now we're at a point to where we're tearing each other apart. We're at each other's throats. And as a vet that did 20 years, I find it just horrifying where we're at. So I wanted to get that out there because you guys talked about losing the memory. And if there's enough intent out there, and we know there's plenty of evil intent out there now these days, that you can force people into forgetting it and to forget such a horrible, devastating thing to not just Americans, but to the human psyche in general, is a travesty unto itself.
Matt, that was an important call. Thank you so much for being a part of
Yeah.
News Talk STL. We welcome your thoughts and your reflections throughout the morning on this. 314-912-1019. And Matt, make sure that you're tuned in here in about a half an hour. Governor Scott Walker is going to be with us specifically to talk about just that. This is 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at NewstalkSTL.com.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. The North County Police Cooperative will hand out free steering wheel clubs today to Kia and Hyundai owners at James McGee Park in Veneta Park. The clubs will be available to residents of the specific neighborhoods they patrol, and people must also bring the vehicle to pick up the club or have the registration paperwork with them. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is now offering a $7,500 reward to anyone with information on the theft ring targeting local gun stores. The ring, believed to include 5 to 10 people, has burglarized or attempted to burglarize at least 5 gun stores in the St. Louis region, including Metro Shooting Supplies, Michael's Arms Accessories, Osage County Gun, and 2 Academy Sports locations. Today through Sunday, downtown Clayton will be celebrating the St. Louis Art Fair. Along with art, there will be live music, local food, comedians, and activities for children. Frontier Airlines is introducing a new flight from St. Louis to Tampa, Florida, beginning November 16th. The nonstop flights will be available 4 times a week, flying out of Terminal 1. And in sports, the Cardinals fell to the Nationals 11-6 at Busch last night, although catcher Yadier Molina and pitcher Adam Wainwright tied the major league record of 324 starts by a battery, and Molina hit 2 home runs. Next up, the Cardinals head to Pittsburgh for a 3-game series. Tonight's game is at 5:35 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
The biggest delays we have this morning, and it is a pretty big delay, are on 44 eastbound, basically between Highway 50 and 100 Washington. It's due to an overnight vehicle fire. They still have the right lane closed. I'm showing about a 30-minute delay on that route. It's also affecting Route AT, Old 66, which is your alternate route approaching 100 West. You're seeing a jam there, too. Otherwise, normal traffic so far this morning. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good. Some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. See if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Patchy fog, otherwise pretty nice again this morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s across the metro area under clear skies. Pleasant afternoon, a warm one, the high 86 with the lower humidity. The humidity starts to climb. The clouds build overnight. A few spot showers on Saturday, but most of that should be south and east of the metro St. Louis area. There is a chance for rain on Sunday morning, and it will turn cooler. 85 on Saturday, mid-70s on Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Do you have a property that is more hassle than is worth? Hi, this is David with House Sold Easy, and I buy houses cash. If you own a property and you want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-293-3000. Do you own an ugly property, a behind on mortgage payment property, a lazy tenant that won't pay rent property, a too much junk and clutter property, or even a, hey, I'm curious about a fair cash offer property? Well, don't worry. I buy them all, and I want to make you a fair cash offer. Call me at 314-293-3000.
Now is your chance to come and hear your Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft, at the iconic Turkish Pavilion in Tower Grove Park.
Hi, this is Mary Teresa McClain, chair of the Republican Party, City of St. Louis. Come and participate in the $5 raffle for a 10-ounce pure silver bar valued at $240 at our annual picnic on Sunday, September 11th. Proceeds support our city police.
Hear from 9 local candidates as they share their vision for a better future, all while enjoying free barbecue and meeting other Republicans. Visit stlouisrepublicans.com for more details. Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer. Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewstalkSTL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Here's what the illiberal left does not get.
Live and local.
We're at least going to talk to the person who is on the ballot, and let's see how serious she is about running.
This is News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, here in just about 2 minutes or so, there's a lawsuit filed trying to stop Missouri voters from deciding on recreational marijuana, at least the version of recreational marijuana legalization that we know as Legal Mo 22. We'll get to that, like I said, about 2 minutes. Right after that, should there be an age limit for politicians in the United States? Fascinating results of a YouGov survey that was done. Let's just say a vast majority of Americans, according to the survey, say absolutely age limit. You get to a certain age, you're not allowed to be a political leader anymore. Good idea, bad idea. We'll talk about that around 6:50. And as was been mentioned throughout the morning, Sunday is September 11th, 21 years after the terrorist attack in the United States, in New York City. Well, also obviously in other areas as well. But I'm sorry, New York City, Washington, D.C., obviously New York City, there was the Pentagon and then Pennsylvania. And so we're welcoming your reflections and your thoughts on that as well, because I've got the question is, are we actually starting to forget collectively?
Right.
And at 7:05, former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker is going to be with us to talk about that. And of course, the headlines that you're seeing everywhere today are still about the Queen of England dying. England now, their monarchy is led now by King Charles III. All right, you found something, Dave.
Yeah. I've been, just plugged into social media, and a lot of people are kind of sharing their little stories and things about the Queen, some of their favorite pictures. I just saw one picture of the Queen firing machine guns. Like, hey, this is going to be my favorite picture of the Queen. But this little anecdote here, I think, says something about her character. You got me?
Mm-hmm. Sites, you meet nobody. But there was 2 hikers coming towards us, and the Queen would always stop and say hello. And it was 2 Americans on a walking holiday. And it was clear from the moment that we first stopped, they hadn't recognized the Queen, which is fine. And the American gentleman was telling the Queen where he came from, where they were going to next, and where they'd been to in Britain. And I could see it coming, and sure enough, he said to Her Majesty, "And where do you live?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, I live in London, but I've got a holiday home just the other side of the hills." And he said, "Well, how often have you been coming up here?" "Oh," she said, "I've been coming up here ever since I was a little girl, so over 80 years. And you could see the clogs thinking. He said, "Well, if you've been coming up here for 80 years, you must have met the Queen." And as quick as a flash says, "Well, I haven't, but Dick here meets her regularly." So the guy said to me, "Oh, you've met the Queen, what's she like?" And because I was with her a long time and I knew I could pull a leg, I said, "Oh, she can be very cantankerous at times, but she's got a lovely sense of humor." Anyway, the next thing I knew, this guy comes around, put his arm around my shoulder, and before I could see what was happening, he gets his camera, gives it to the Queen, and says, "Can you take a picture of the 2 of us?" Anyway, we swapped places, and I took a picture of them with the Queen, and we never let on, and we waved goodbye. And then Her Majesty said to me, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he shows those photographs to the friends in America, and hopefully someone tells him who I am.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Isn't that great?
That was awesome.
So yeah, I mean, it's a very, I mean, think about how classy that is, right? You know, just you are the Queen, and people talking about you, and it's like, oh yes. I've never actually met the Queen personally, but
yeah,
this guy.
That's hilarious. That's great.
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome. She must have been.
Which it probably would have been confusing. He probably would have said, "No, you're not," because there's like no. We would assume all leaders would be surrounded by you. Would never get that close. Yeah,
right.
Oh my goodness. All right, real quick here.
That's
we got an information segment coming up. There is a lawsuit filed in Cole County Court in Missouri, obviously Jefferson City area. That is trying to block the legal Mo 22 referendum from actually being on the ballot.
I did see this.
Yeah. So what's happening is there's a lady named Joy Sweeney. I believe she's a doctor, but she is part of her job is she works with like Drug Free America, Coalition for Drug Free America, that kind of stuff. And she is arguing two things. One, she's arguing that some of the signatures should not have been counted as the petition to get this on the ballot, because if you remember, there was legal Mo 22 barely met the threshold to get this on the ballot. Well, it turns out that there were some local election authorities that struck out some signatures, and then it was taken to the Secretary of State's office, and that staff there reviewed them and said, no, those are good signatures. Those are legitimate ones. And so they re-added them to the count. And so she's arguing that the Secretary of State shouldn't have done that. Well, okay, I don't know, specifically what the law says on that. She's arguing that the Secretary of State should not have interfered with the local counting process. So let the lawyer types figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
But she's also arguing that because there are so many different things in this, that it's too broad and it doesn't meet the muster of the state constitution. Now, all of the things in this do relate to legalized marijuana, but it's like the licensing, it's the taxing, it's the criminal record expungement. It's all of these things that are a broad thing. And now that is a problem in the state. And I do think we should change the laws and the statutes regarding these referendums.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are things that are way too broad that are defeating the purpose of having the referendum instead of going through our legislative officials that are elected locally. And so that's happening. I will be very, very surprised if she gets her way in court. Courts are absolutely hesitant to strike down a referendum or anything that's been petitioned on. They're very hesitant to do that. Clean Missouri, we've gone back to that a couple times, absolutely violated the state constitution for having completely different topics in the same referendum. And even then, the courts were like, yeah, people put it on the ballot. They did signatures and petitions that we're not going to mess with that. So I don't think this is going to be struck from the ballot, but there is that lawsuit that's happening to try to keep it from being voted on, at least in this form. All right, 314-912-1019. Still ahead here. Should there be an age limit for politicians in the United States?
And what should it be?
And what should it be? Those were questions asked in a survey by YouGov, and I've got the results of it. Do you agree or do you disagree? Interesting conversation here.
At least 80. Okay. At least 80.
Interesting. Yeah. So we'll talk about that still ahead right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Our biggest trouble spot this morning is 44 eastbound approaching 100 Washington. We had a tractor trailer burn about 3 o'clock this morning. They're still only letting the right lane closed, and that traffic is at a halt back at Highway 50. That's close to an hour delay. A lot of people are bailing. They're taking Route AT, Old 66. That's not even advisable. That's really delayed trying to get to 100 West. Other slow traffic is on 55 North approaching Route Z. We had a crash north of McNutt. It's off on the right side. And 55 North slows down a little bit, Carondelet through Virginia. This report sponsored by Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks. They're so good. Some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Friday, and at 3:45, we'll talk to the great-great-granddaughter of Dred Scott, Lynn Jackson, and at 5:05, Scott Fawn.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, reserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Columbo and Katie.
Equality means equality. It means you don't discriminate against anybody.
And what are we teaching the next generation? The entire American struggle, it wasn't pretty. It was our history is very ugly. But we have the opportunity to show our younger generation, see how ugly this was? Do you see brother fighting against brother to make things right? Because that's how much we care.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Stay top of mind with your customers, stand out from the competition, and drive productivity with a podcast for your business from Epic STL Podcasts. Log on to newstalkstl.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
It is back. Real fantasy football action underway.
Got my receivers. 1, 2, 3. It's all part of my fantasy. I've got the running backs, just got a QB. Another tight end is all that I need. It's all part of my fantasy football team.
Let's look at matchups, injury news, projected usage.
It is why all my girlfriends left me.
How do you draft a great team? The fantasy cheat sheet.
Okay, there you go. Football. The NFL season started last night. That one team beat that other team in that one stadium. I think the Rams lost.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Did they? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. And they lost badly.
Go sports ball.
Sport ball. Well,
I love
guys,
sports ball other than I don't watch the NFL anymore, so I didn't pay attention to it. But fantasy football, I know that there's so many people who love it. I've never done it. Not been my thing.
I did fantasy football for a little, like maybe 2 or 3 seasons or something like that.
Did it change how you watch the game?
It absolutely changed.
My
how you
brother
watch
told
the
me
game.
that years ago when I was still watching the NFL, just very loyally. And he goes, now you're watching individual players and it changes how you watch the game. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, and it does it because your team now, because you're rooting for your team, but your team is basically sort of a pseudo Pro Bowl team.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at all these other different, but it's like, oh, and when 2 of your big players are on opposite teams, it makes watching the game really weird because you want this one running back to get a lot of yards, but you need the defense on the other side to keep them from scoring. So
Yeah, see, that's why I never did fantasy baseball,
Yeah.
because I just want to watch my team
and
I
enjoy
don't,
it. Yeah.
I don't want to be in a position for, God forbid, to root for like a Chicago Cub to hit a home run. I don't want that.
Well, I'm not going to associate myself with the NFL on anything at all, but at the same time, I remember, and I could be bitter, but I do remember that when Kroenke left St. Louis and took the team with him, he said in one little tweet, he said, "Sup, St. Louis," almost like a slap in the face.
Sure. Yeah.
So I said St. Louis 1, Rams, or LA 0 in Super Bowls. Well, they won last year. The difference is, when we won in St. Louis here, there were different years after that where they were contenders. The Rams this year suck.
Oh, do
and
they?
it has to do
Yeah.
with him draining that team financially and just getting rid of all the players. And that takes, it takes a lot of
pay for his $1 billion stadium somehow, right?
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I just say sup.
There you go. All right. Interesting survey done by YouGov, and they asked a simple question, 2 simple questions. Should there be an age limit for politicians in the United States? Now, we have age limits on a few different jobs. Airline pilots would be one, but there are a couple of jobs where once you get to a certain age, you're retired, whether you like it or not. So should we have an age limit on politicians? 314-912-1019. Here's the interesting thing. Across the board, Democrats, 71% say yes.
Democrats, hey?
Democrats, independents, 75% say yes. Republicans, 75% say yes, according to this survey.
Yes, and in political terms, 70+% is essentially everybody.
Right. Saying there should be an age limit. Okay, so when you look at, for those who said yes, there should be age limits. Here's how it broke down. Now, I mean, there were 2% of those said 90.
Oh,
Well,
wow. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so,
Jeez. All right.
basically, yeah, there should, but I don't want to commit to it.
Right.
8% said 50.
Oh, wow.
Which means I would be too old.
Well, you have to be 45 to run for president, don't you?
No, 35.
Or 35.
35,
Sorry,
yeah.
35. Yeah. So you're cutting down that window pretty small.
18% of those who said there should be an age limit said it should be 80.
Okay.
No. Honestly, I think it should be probably 70. I
Well,
mean, at the latest, I think 70.
That
But
was the
that's-
most popular answer.
70. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life expectancy in the United States is currently around 78 point something or other, right? So 70 was like, okay, now spend 10 years in retirement and go away.
Yeah,
exactly.
So basically.
Well, and you need someone who gains experience, who gains industrial experience in the job. You can't have a bunch of newbies running around every 5 to 10 years. It wouldn't make for a good solid government. But at the same time, you've got to put a limit on this thing. And I don't know if that's that's definitely not the only answer, but that's a good start.
Well, that was, like I said, the most popular answer. 26% of people said 60, and then 40% said 70 should be the mandatory age for retirement. I mean, you look at the U.S. Senate right now, Republican and Democrat. Chuck Grassley is like 88. Dianne Feinstein
is he really?
Yeah, he's like 88.
Holy cow.
Feinstein
Come on.
is like 89. I
Come
mean,
on.
Yeah.
We should start calling it the Council of Ancients.
Yeah, I mean, but
yeah.
So, but here's the thing. I mean, you talked about the experience. I see somebody somebody young person starts a YouTube channel and they get a lot of followers, like running for president. I'm going, they're 30, they're 25.
They know nothing.
They don't know anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you've got that aspect of it. You want them to be experienced enough, but
minimum.
not old enough to be out of touch or to frankly start losing your faculties, because then you get into somebody who's going to argue that we've got, ageism or whatever the ism is for that. But I remember, my mom is in her early 70s, sharp as a tack. There's nothing, in her faculties that would prevent her from making good decisions, and she has a lot of life experience, but she's beyond that age.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
You get, when I look at Chuck Grassley, when I look at Jerry Nadler, Nancy Pelosi, I think of that movie that no one ever saw but me, Green Lantern, where they had that
I saw it too.
that council of elder people that were.
Oh, yeah.
They were probably 1,000 years old each, but they all looked like them.
Well, now keep in mind that if 70 were the cutoff, Donald Trump 76.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we would have to, go with somebody else. I mean, granted, I'd personally prefer Ron DeSantis, but that would eliminate him and obviously eliminate Joe Biden as well. It would eliminate, frankly, a lot of candidates from both sides because they are at such advanced ages.
Well, I'm not a hypocritical Democrat, so I would agree with you that Trump would not be able to run.
He would not be able to run. Yeah.
No, yeah.
and even with 80, because I mean, he'll be around 78 when the election comes, which means he would be too old to complete the term.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think there should be a little that should be a little stipulation.
So the cutoff is when you assume the office.
Yeah.
Okay. So then he would be able to get in under the 80, but he's already 76.
Right.
Yeah.
So all right.
What's
Interesting.
Joe 95 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Just ahead, Governor Scott Walker. Let's talk about remembering 9/11.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here. Well, it's summer and Hanson's Tree Service has got you covered for everything that you need to continue to beautify your homestead, your landscaping, and everything there too. You can purchase organic mulch in bulk from Hanson, saving on price, time, and it's convenient. They'll take care of everything around your homestead regarding tree and stump removal, pruning, green waste recycling, plant health care. You got oak trees or ash trees that need service, Hanson's will take care of that as well. 24/7, hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Mike Ferguson is brought to you in part by Brenton Vision, where LASIK equals freedom. Call Brenton Vision at 314-375-2020 or go to brentonvision.com today.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, ephes, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The death of Queen Elizabeth after a record-shattering 70-year reign has brought everyday life to a halt across Great Britain. Correspondent Jill Lawless in London says the empire is mourning.
Cultural events have been canceled, sports matches have been canceled. So really, it's very uncharted waters, I think, for the UK.
The Queen died yesterday at the age of 96. King Charles III has ascended the throne. He'll deliver an address later today. Britain certainly not alone in its grief. The Queen's passing is mourned worldwide.
The Queen was much more than Britain's monarch. She was a sovereign to another 14 nations and a rare figure who was almost universally admired through hemispheres, generations, social divisions, and politics. Tributes to her have come in from other monarchs, leaders, dignitaries, and rock stars. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said Elizabeth personified dignity and decency in public life, while Caribbean leaders from Jamaica to Bermuda mourned her death, which occurred as several British territories in the Caribbean seek to replace the monarch with their own heads of state. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
A sanctuary city mayor declares a state of emergency amid a flood of illegal aliens.
Muriel Bowser, the mayor of our nation's capital, declared a public emergency on Thursday over the number of illegal immigrants heading into Washington, D.C., in the latest turn by Democrat-run cities and states where they confront the impact of their policies. So far, the nation's capital has seen around 9,500 illegal immigrants arrive since April, apparently enough to cause Bowser to declare the public emergency. Meanwhile, 7,000 to 8,000 immigrants are illegally crossing into Texas from Mexico each day, according to the Texas Department of Public Service. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
Southern California bracing for high winds, heavy rains from Tropical Storm K. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 228. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Ms. Prager here to share a product that can help keep everyone more healthy, Cofix RX. Most of us know that viruses of all types are a part of life. What we don't always know are the right products that could be protecting us. So I'd like to tell you about Cofix RX and its doctor-approved secret ingredient. As a safety measure, many doctors and nurses have been using iodine to swab their noses for decades. Iodine has been in use since 1811, and 96% of us are iodine deficient. Using Cofix RX antiviral nasal spray with povidone iodine is a smart way to stay healthy. Cofix RX is made right here in the USA. It's simple to use. You spray it up your nose, and the iodine destroys germs and pathogens where they multiply in the nasal cavity. Check out CofixRx.com. That's COFIXRX.com for a retailer near you, or use the coupon code Prager for 20% off at CofixRx.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Two pretty major delays. 55 northbound past McNutt. We've got a crash blocking the right lane with fire and EMS on the scene. Traffic is backed almost to Route A. That's a good 3-mile jam. Think about 61, 67. 44 eastbound is jammed up from Highway 50 almost to 100 Washington. That's due to a tractor trailer that burned overnight. They're still only letting the right lane by. And if you're thinking about using Route AT, Old 66, that's not the best idea either. That's really jammed up trying to get into 100. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's. I'm Jill Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Patchy fog, otherwise pretty nice again this morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s across the metro area under clear skies. Pleasant afternoon, a warm one, the high 86 with the lower humidity. The humidity starts to climb, the clouds build overnight, a few spot showers on Saturday, but most of that should be south and east of the metro St. Louis area. There is a chance for rain on Sunday morning, and it will turn cooler, 85 on Saturday, mid 70s on Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
The Cardinals celebrate the newest pro sports team in town, STL City SC. On Saturday, September 17th, the Cardinals host the Reds. And that night, 25,000 fans, 16 and older, will take home a Cardinals soccer jersey presented by Wells Fargo Advisors. St. Louis is officially a soccer and baseball town. That's Saturday, September 17th. For tickets and more info, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
Yachty, Albert, and Waino. All season long, we've been celebrating these iconic Cardinals legends. The Legends Bobblehead Series begins on Sunday, September 18th. That day, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home an Albert Pujols bobblehead. Salute Albert's return to St. Louis with this unique bobble that connects with separate Yachty and Waino bobbles given out during the final regular season weekend. For tickets, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog Darius!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
Sunday is September 11th. And when I say that, my first thought keeps going back to, just because of the way things have changed, my thought keeps going back to, at the time, never forget. We will always remember, never forget. And I have to ask the question, are we forgetting? here in just about 30 seconds. We're going to be visiting with former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. It is 7:07 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. We've got Gabe Pfeiffer here. We've got Ken Williams here. The Young America's Foundation is among those that are working to sort of remind us to remember, if you will. And it's ironic because so many of the folks in the Young America's Foundation around college campuses weren't even alive at the time.
Absolutely.
That this happened. And that's kind of, I think, a little bit sobering for a lot of us because we are now literally a generation removed from when 9/11 happened. And we're joined now by former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, who's now the president of the Young America's Foundation. And Governor, great to talk to you again. Thank you so much for being back on News Talk STL. I hate to ask this question. Are we starting to forget what happened, the feelings we had, the lessons that we've learned from 9/11 as we get farther away from that horrible day?
Yes. Sadly, the answer is yes. We have. We just sent Young America's Foundation, YF.org, if people are interested in what we're talking about here. But we sent a crew out on college campuses and found overwhelmingly that students in college can't tell you what happened. And the few that can kind of, it's actually cringeworthy watching this video with different college students, because even the few that can tell you that kind of what happened on 9/11 don't really know why. And I've said for some time, particularly last year at the 20th anniversary, that it's not only important to remind people of all ages what happened on September 11, 2001, but equally, if not more importantly, who did it and why they did it. And the further we go away, the comparison I made, it would be like students in 1962 not being able to tell you what happened on Pearl Harbor Day, and equally, if not more importantly, who did it and why they did it. We can never forget the 2,977 lives, innocent lives that were lost in New York, the Pentagon, and of course over a field in Pennsylvania. And that's why we do the 9/11 Never Forget Project, but we got to do much more.
I want to get into that Never Forget Project in just a moment. In addition to just understanding our history, why is it so important to make sure that collectively speaking, that we are remembering what happened and who did it and all those lessons from this instance of U.S. history? I mean, why is that so relevant now?
Well, I didn't major in history, but I always found it incredibly important from childhood on. And as I'm older now, I realize, as many have said before me, part of the reason why you want to understand history is so you don't repeat it. All too often, even what we see with Ukraine and Russia and other places around the world, you can look back in time, read history, and forecast many of the tragic, horrible things that are happening around the world today are foretold to us just by reading up on history. In this case, vividly so. I mean, in 1993, there was an attack on the World Trade Center. Thankfully, at that point, it wasn't anywhere near as tragic as 9/11, but we were foretold what was going to happen, not just in America, but even specifically at that site if we didn't take radical Islamic terrorism seriously. And so we see that here, not to mention for those 2,977 lives, we not only owe it to ourselves, we owe it to them. Yeah. That their lives lost may not have been in vain, that we, not only for the people who were in the World Trade Center, who were in those planes, who were in the Pentagon, but particularly all those firefighters and police officers and first responders who, as others were rushing out, they rushed in, lost their lives, many of whom are still suffering from the after effects today. For those who didn't perish that day, we owe it to all of them to make sure that all of us, but particularly Generation Z, the folks in college and high school and younger, never forget what happened, who did it, and why they did it.
Good morning, Gabe Pfeiffer here. One of the things that I always like to think of is that the lessons that we need to learn in order to prevent history from repeating itself are just as important as remembering that the lessons were given to begin with. So what lessons should we be looking back on right now from those days just following 9/11?
Well, one of the biggest things is that this wasn't just some random targeting. I mean, they looked at New York City because that was the the symbol globally of our economic freedom. They went at the Pentagon and presumably United Flight 93 that eventually was taken down by the brave passengers over a rural field in Pennsylvania. But many felt that because of the fuel capacity in that plane was being directed potentially towards the White House, the Capitol. All of those sites, the Pentagon, the White House, the Capitol, were because of our political and military freedoms. These were people who were threatened by our freedoms. And we have to be mindful of that. We have to not only be strong in promoting our freedoms, but be articulate and with our own citizens first and foremost, but with people around the world about the benefits of freedom over oppression, which I would include not just in the Middle East, but you look at socialism, you look at communism, you look at Marxism. Those are all different forms of oppression. And sadly, on many of our college campuses these days, college students actually think those are good things, that those are positive things. And history shows that they're not. But one other real specific thing, when I was governor, we used to do this, and other governors and leaders did as well. There was a phrase we did with law enforcement, the FBI, and others that said, if you see something, say something. Whether it's a horrific terrorist attack like this or even some of the other gruesome things we see within our country. Sadly, almost every time I see that happen, there's someone who comes on the radio or on TV or somewhere else in the news who says, yeah, I thought that was odd. I thought that was unusual. I thought there was something wrong, but they didn't say something about it until after it happened. So one other lesson learned from all these is if you see something unusual, let your local law enforcement know, let them check into it because you could actually stop something horrible from happening.
Good morning, Scott. This is Ken Williams. Where were you and what were your first thoughts when the first plane hit the tower?
Yeah, no, probably like all of you guys and many others listening, I could vividly remember it. My wife that morning, Tonette, was up early at work, and she called me. I was getting our kids ready, who are now 27 and 28, and they were getting ready to go to the elementary school, Teddy Roosevelt School, just down the block from us. So the kids were in the kitchen. My wife called me and said, hey, go into the living room. Don't do it in the kitchen. Turn on the TV. And I remember Peter Jennings was on, which is unusual in the morning, talking about a plane that had just hit one of the towers. And at that time, you guys remember this probably too, at that time, all the news was they thought it was some sort of freak accident, that somehow a plane had gotten confused and flew into the downtown area of Manhattan. And then when we saw the second plane going into the other tower, then you could see it on the faces of the people on the news, broadcasting news. But I think I and probably all the rest of us watching at that point knew this was more than just some freak accident with smoke coming out of one of the towers. This was America was under attack. And the other weird part I did it. But the thing about how weird this is, you're still not fully grasping this. So this all happens. I still sent my kids off to school, got in my car, met my carpool, went to work, and I can vividly remember where I was at an exit called community called Delafield. I and the other guys in the carpool had the radio on, and the national broadcast said that one of the towers had collapsed, and we actually all looked at each other and thought, no, they must have misspoke. That couldn't have happened. It just shows you how surreal all this was at that point.
We're visiting with former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, who's now the president of the Young America's Foundation, which YAF.org is where you're going to find that. Tell me about, in the last minute or so we've got, Governor, tell me about the project that YAF is undertaking around the country on college campuses to put the displays up, and what do you hope to accomplish with it?
Yeah, we're putting up 2,977 American flags. We started this right after 9/11, and since then we've helped students in colleges and even some high schools and other campuses put up over 12 million flags since we started this. Sadly, though, the last couple of years, I don't know which is worse, the apathy that you get in some schools, or in some cases, the outright opposition. We actually had a student right down in your neck of the woods last year at one of the campuses we were at in the St. Louis area, who, a part of the student senate, one of these woke radical nuts, who went out in the middle of the night and ripped up all the flags that our students had put up. thankfully they caught it on videotape. They had videos out there. But that, for something that 21 years ago we thought was just a given, that it brought everyone together, united we stand, it hasn't now. And it's all the more reason why we need to help students put up these flags. They put it in the middle of the campus so people can see it, understand it, talk about it, share about it, understand again what happened, who did it, and why they did it, so we don't repeat it again.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that about a year ago, Governor.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, Governor Scott
Yeah,
Walker.
just amazing.
It really was. And the students who were doing that, and they've also attacked other displays and free speech as well on the campuses in St. Louis as well since then as well. So it's a pattern, and it's an anti-American pattern that we're seeing. Governor, great to talk to you again. Thank you so much for giving us the reminder. All right, Governor Scott Walker, YAF.org is where you're going to find that information and those resources and that video as well. All right, still ahead here. Let's look forward a little bit in the politics of things. Another major figure in the conservative movement, or a very well-known figure, I should say, says, I'm looking at 2024.
This is very interesting.
I'll tell you who it is in about 4 minutes right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
A busy morning with some problems on 55 northbound past McNutt, crash in the right lane, jam traffic back to Route A. That's almost a half-hour delay. 55 northbound at Carondelet, we've got a crash right where the work zone starts. Naturally, only the right lane is getting by, so that traffic is jammed past Weber. And 44 eastbound before 100 Washington, a tractor trailer burned overnight. Still only the right lane getting by. Major delays. Route AT is not a good alternate. It's equally jammed. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Perfectly crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Do you live in St. Charles County? Then you can get Mid-Rivers News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. Mid-Rivers News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit midriversnewsmagazine.com/subscribe to get a copy delivered to your mailbox, or pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. Mid-Rivers News Magazine. Anybody who wants it, gets it. Anybody who gets it, wants it. Subscribe for free today.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Fox News commentary.
AOC tells us she won't be president for this reason. I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out next.
Hi, this is Lisa Booth. With so much instability and inflation in the world, I recommend protecting your retirement by diversifying with gold and silver. I recommend Bishop Gold Group. Bishop Gold Group sells physical gold and silver delivered to your door or put directly in your IRA. Call now and tell them Lisa Booth sent you. Dial pound 250 on your mobile phone and mention keyword Bishop Gold or visit bishopgoldgroup.com. You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dialed text message from Bishop Gold Group.
AOC graces the cover of GQ and uses her interview to feel sorry for herself. Oh, the irony. When asked if she would run for president, she retorted it's unlikely she'd ever be elected, not because she lacks basic skills, intelligence, or popularity with the general public, but because Americans hate women. That's an odd assertion given we currently have a female vice president, likely chosen in large part because she is a woman. But furthermore, that's a pretty easy cop-out for AOC and one she's pulled before. If you don't like her and her radical socialist ideas, it must be due to racism, sexism, or misogyny. Wrong-o, Miss Ocasio-Cortez. It has zero to do with any of those excuses. It's worth noting AOC doesn't so much as acknowledge the historic elections of her fellow women like Myra Flores or Winsome Sears. They are both women of color, but also happen to be Republicans, so I guess that explains it. AOC, you don't speak for women, and I find it pretty insulting you feel that you need to dump your baseless victimhood complex on our entire gender.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The MAGA Republicans are destroying America.
I mean, are you kidding me? Inflation, crime, open border.
The Democrats
being exposed.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
One of the last mask mandate holdouts has finally given in and ended the mask order on like subways and buses in New York City. So we're going to talk about this right around 7:35 because some liberal talking heads still not happy about it, but they finally are getting around to acknowledging what it's all about for them. And they actually said the words, and I've got it on audio. We'll play it for you right around 7:35. And then of course at 7:50, it's Friday, 7:50, which means Gabe has not today, Satan.
Yeah, buddy.
It is 7:24 on your Friday. I'm Mike Ferguson. That's Gabe over there. That's Ken over there. Real quick, before we talk about the latest conservative figure, very well-known figure who says, yeah, I'll think about running in 2024. Get your thoughts on that. I guess the question I could put out there, guys, is who would you like to see at least consider running for 2024? That might be a fun question as well.
Yeah.
Obviously Gabe and I have been, pretty vocal that we really would love to see Ron DeSantis at some point run for president.
Yep.
Well, he was at a press conference. I don't know what topic he was talking about, but somebody brought up this kind of feud that Gavin Newsom seems to want to start with Ron DeSantis, as though Gavin Newsom's going to win this, but he does keep wanting to basically pick a fight with the guy who's smarter than he is. And here's what Ron DeSantis, just at some point in this press conference, had to say about comparing what's happening in Florida and comparing what's happening in California right now.
I mean, I hear a lot of people chirping about Florida from like California. They're so worried about Florida. They can't even keep the power on in California. I mean, are you kidding me? Someone told me that they will be able, once all the people that want to move to Florida move out of there, then maybe they'll have adequate power. But I mean, it's just ridiculous. And so, we've been able to do that. Part of it, though, is just, we stood for people's rights. We stood for people's freedoms. And obviously, the state has done very well. We have more people employed in Florida than we did prior to COVID.
I love that, because if enough people move out, then there won't be as much demand, and then they'll have adequate power because there aren't as many people there needing power.
Yeah, when you're a person like Newsom who needs to elevate his profile, he's going to go after a guy who has a real high profile.
Right.
And that's what he's trying to do with DeSantis right now, because he wants to try and be compared to him. And it's just not going to work, because did you notice DeSantis never said his name?
Right. And Newsom, if you really want to be compared to Ron DeSantis, I mean, be careful what you wish for, because you'll get it, and you don't want that comparison right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
don't want
my
that
goodness.
at all.
Okay. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. So, interesting story. And I've actually found, I did a Google search, and I found a few previous stories on this, but there's an article that says Larry Elder is considering looking at running for president in 2024. Now, Larry Elder, to my knowledge, has never held political office.
No.
He's made his career as a media figure. And of course, he ran for governor of California, but the recall of Gavin Newsom did not pass. And so, but Larry Elder was the top vote getter outside of Gavin Newsom. And he got millions of votes in California. And so he says, yeah, I'll consider it. And he's actually made a stop in Iowa already as well. Thoughts?
Well, I think if you look at it more as a profile upgrade sort of run, because I don't think anyone would suspect, including Larry, that he could win. It would be a good move for him personally. For
I
sure.
like having his voice in the conversation.
Also that.
Yeah, I like Larry Elder, but I think I agree with you, Gabe, that I think he's doing it to put it on his resume, probably.
If he does it.
To bring it. Yeah, if he does it.
Yeah. I mean, you can also raise your profile by saying, yeah, I'm thinking about it, but I just changed I decided
well,
not
that's
to.
true
I mean,
too.
I thought about, it's kind of funny. It's like, I'm setting up an exploratory. Has there ever been an exploratory committee that has said, we recommend you not do this? Exploratory committees are set up so that you can get a pre-campaign before the actual legal campaign. Now, the obvious thing in the room is that if Donald Trump decides to run for president in 2024, which it appears he's going to, then I don't think any of these folks get in. I think they just, he's basically coronated at the convention, and that's that. But if he, for whatever reason, hedges or delays, and at some point somebody says, hey, we gotta start having some candidates in here to do the campaign thing, then who do you want to see consider it? Now, DeSantis is my guy. Gabe, you've said DeSantis is your guy.
Yep.
There are other good voices out there. Who would you want to see? Tim Scott. Yeah.
I at the very least, I'd like him kind of making noise basically on the stage for sure, just because we want to get more. I mean, if we're just talking voices that we want to get into the conversation, his is one.
I would love to see Tim Scott's profile raised.
Yes.
I'd love to see Trump with Tim Scott or DeSantis.
Oh, as mate,
as a running mate, you mean?
Yeah.
I think Tim Scott would be more likely in that scenario.
I would love that.
Yeah, I don't see DeSantis leaving the governorship of Florida to do it, but I think Tim Scott would be more. I also think Nikki Haley would be in that conversation.
Yeah, I think her name has been batted around for a while, even very early on when she left the Trump administration and she kind of created her own sort of political action group. I think that she's kind of been in the conversation for a while now.
Yeah. Anybody else jump to mind?
Not really.
I mean,
Nikki Haley, I used to really like, and I just
soured on her a little bit.
Yeah, because some of the comments she's made, they were
she critiqued Donald Trump. I mean, she didn't attack him, but she critiqued him on a couple things. She disagreed with him on a couple things,
and which is I have no problem with that at all. I haven't really seen her much.
Yeah,
she hasn't really commented on current events or anything. So.
Oh, she's on Newsmax and Fox all the time.
Is she?
Oh yeah, she's on there all the time.
Maybe I haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, no, she's out there definitely. But you've got some others. I mean, you've got Rand Paul, I think, who brings a great, more small L libertarian free market kind of voice to the conversation.
Oh yeah,
he can kind of be the conscience of the Republicans
the
at
cooling
times.
Saucer.
Yeah, that kind of the way, I mean, his dad Ron Paul in a lot of ways was a conscience for the Republicans. Of course, they ignored him.
A soothsayer also.
Right.
Honestly,
Yeah.
if you look back at his comments.
I met Ron Paul a couple times, but they were more like Goldwater in their lines of thinking. And that's an important, I think, aspect that the Republican, whether or not they would win the nomination, I think I would love to see that in the mix as well. I mean, so there are other voices and names out there. Larry Elder, kind of being, among the talking heads over all these years. I mean, how many millions of people have read his work and listened to his work on the radio? So he would bring, some influence just because of the work he's done in media on that. But I agree, Gabe. I don't see him as being, a real contender in a presidential race. All right, 314-912-1019. Just had some leftist talking head pundits. Yeah, they're finally getting around to admitting that this whole mask mandate thing, not really about the masks. It's about virtue signaling. It's about politics. It's about tribalism. I'll let you hear from one of them at about 7:35 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 101.9 94.1 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. so many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. Ameren, Missouri announced yesterday that they have selected North St. Louis and Jefferson County for their next solar generation sites as part of the Neighborhood Solar Program. Ameren expects these solar energy sites to start generating enough clean energy to power an approximate total of 55 homes by the end of 2023. The St. Louis Cardinals, the Gateway Region YMCA, and other partners broke ground Wednesday on a new $5.2 million sports complex for children and others with disabilities. The new YMCA Adaptive Sports Complex will be on the campus of the South County YMCA. It is estimated to be completed in fall of 2023. Tickets for the Polar Express out of the St. Louis Union Station went on sale yesterday. The trip to meet Santa takes 1 hour, with trains departing at 4:30, 6, and 7:15 every night from November 18th through December 30th. A 3/4 size traveling replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial called The Wall That Heals is in Warrenton this week. The wall will be at the Warrenton Athletic Complex through Sunday, September 11th. And in sports, Steve Cash of Overland, a 3-time Paralympic gold medalist and 5-time world champion as the goalie for the U.S. sled hockey team, was selected yesterday for the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame, becoming the first Paralympian to enter the hall. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Still some issues for Jefferson County drivers. They've cleared a crash 55 northbound past McNutt, but there was slow traffic back near Route A, so that'll take just a little while to thin out. And then you've got more heavy traffic Bayless up through Carondelet. There was an accident in the work zone. It's been cleared for about 5-6 minutes now. 44 eastbound, major delays between Highway 50 and a point just before 100 Washington. That's due to an overnight tractor-trailer fire. At last update, they still were only letting the right lane through, and Route AT is really overloaded as well. Not a good alternate. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Perfectly crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. See if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Patchy fog, otherwise pretty nice again this morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s across the metro area under clear skies. Pleasant afternoon, a warm one, the high 86 with the lower humidity. The humidity starts to climb. The clouds build overnight. A few spot showers on Saturday, but most of that should be south and east of the metro St. Louis area. There is a chance for rain on Sunday morning, and it will turn cooler. 85 on Saturday, mid 70s on Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Blue Oyster Cult, live in concert. One of the most iconic bands in classic rock. Blue Oyster Cult, with special guests Mark Farner's American Band and Head East. Friday, September 16th, 7 p.m. The Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
Get ready, because here they come.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's Beatlemania all over again with the Fab Four, the ultimate tribute to the Beatles. Entertainment Tonight says seeing the Fab Four is just like seeing the Beatles.
Hey Jude.
The Fab Four takes you through the 60s with the music that changed our lives.
Yesterday.
It's a show you won't want to miss.
Saturday, October 1st at the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office, located at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
Optimist volunteers serve as leaders, mentors, and friends to help kids achieve a more positive and productive life in 3,600 communities and 19 countries. This year, Optimists will raise and invest over $80 million in 60,000 community service projects that help 6 million children and teens. Optimists have been bringing out the best in kids for nearly 100 years. For the location of your nearest Optimist Club, call 1-800-500-8130.
Decision 22 News.
Inflation, gas prices.
Decision 22 Analysis.
Things the American people want to hear about.
Decision 22 Opinion.
Same old tired talking points.
In St. Louis, Decision 2022 happens right here. News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
One of the last holdouts on mask orders that finally said, "Uncle." That was public transportation like buses and subways in New York City. And this was a topic of discussion on MSNBC because they're still focused on things like masking. But I do want to point out that the reason that we don't have mask orders, one of the big reasons we don't have them in the St. Louis area here, is because Eric Schmidt basically went to court to be-slap these local governments that were doing this sort of stupid thing.
Be-slap?
Yes. I don't want to say the whole thing. I know it's legal to say it. I just don't want to. So that's one, because I'm pretty sure, based on the behavior and the statements from like Sam Page, for instance, I think that if he thought he could get away with it, there would still be mask orders. And if he thought that his God complex were a reality, that there would be people walking around in St. Louis County with masks on everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I still get mad. I go into a doctor's office that they're like, you need a mask on. And it's usually the administrative insurance person, not the actual medical personnel. The nurses are like, you get in the private room, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But there are still people clinging to that as long as they can. So I make sure that I piss somebody off every time I go. It's like a follow-up appointment with my eye. I mean, I make it known, and I make sure that there are people who don't like me when I go to those appointments, because there are still stupidity. And so on MSNBC, speaking of stupidity, they're having this panel discussion, Joe Scarborough and several others. Mara Gray is one of the editorial board members for the New York Times, and she goes on this kind of long diatribe, but here's part of it where she tacitly admits, yeah, this isn't about actual health or medicine. Check this out. You're going to love this one, Gabe.
I actually understand why it can be freeing to not wear a mask on a plane or a train on the subway. That's fine. But I think we just need to acknowledge that there are still people in communities for whom this is a everyday fact of life that they have to think about. And masking remains an act of solidarity and respect for vulnerable people. That includes people with disabilities, with chronic conditions like asthma, as well as for hard-hit communities like Native and Black communities, especially Hispanic communities that have been hit especially hard by this virus. So we need more urgency around treatment for long COVID. We need more urgency around respect for vulnerable communities. And it just doesn't cost me that much to put on a mask for someone else.
Solidarity, man. Solidarity. By the way, Mara, the COVID so-called pandemic has been over for like 6 or 8 months now. If not before that. Solidarity, Gabe.
And even if it was still going, the mask wouldn't help.
Right.
Almost at all.
But it's a sign of respect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Respect my, Okay, go ahead, Ken.
No, just a couple things on this. I don't trust that they're not going to try and bring it back.
Oh, they will.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I heard a news report saying that they're going to try and combine the flu shot along with the COVID shot. I'm not taking that.
You mean in the actual same vaccine or at the same time?
Same vaccine.
Oh, interesting.
And I take the flu shot every year because of the nature of that flu shot. It's not mRNA.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, again, I've mentioned this to you guys off air with certain things that are going on with me. I don't trust that vaccine any longer.
He has a third arm growing out of his
I
back.
do. And I want to get rid of that. And want to get it chopped off. I'm just not going to get the vaccine again.
Waving at me and stuff.
Right. So if they say, okay, well, then here's what we're going to do to make sure that everybody gets that vaccine. We're going to put it in the flu shot too. Then I'm not getting a flu shot. So what they're doing is they're eliminating a lot of people from even getting the flu shot now, if they do that.
Well, and back to this right here, it's kind of funny where she says, this is still a thing, that people are having to do. No, I mean,
it is not.
I know that there are some people. I mean, for instance, my wife's younger son, a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, he ended up testing positive for COVID. And it was not the same symptoms. And after, about a week, he was fine. I mean, he tends to get sick pretty often anyway. My wife thinks she might have had it before that because she had some struggles, but it didn't, affect her life in a huge number of ways. And it's essentially kind of a cold for a lot of people at this point. That's what it was with you, Gabe,
Oh,
a
yeah.
while back. And then for other people, it is changing a little bit. So it looks like it may be something that's becoming a little more intestinal for some people. But the reality is that it's just a bug that's going around.
Yeah.
But they still want to hang on to anything that will control people. And now it's the manipulative language where it's a sign of respect. It's solidarity with, wait a minute. Solidarity based on skin color? And then she goes, it just doesn't cost me to wear a mask. Well, that's you. But at the very beginning, she goes, I understand how it's freeing. Okay. You've just acknowledged what the right thing to do is, and then told us that we should be doing the wrong thing out of the wrong reasons. All of this having to do with something that's supposed to be medical. And at this point, zero compliance with any orders or mandates. That's my take on this.
Oh, yeah.
Zero compliance.
And the thing is, compliance is not free.
Correct.
It's not free.
No.
What you pay to comply is your freedom. What you pay is your, acquiescence to a universal government mandate to be able to put anything on your face and on your body to control you. I'm not paying control of my life to you in order to express solidarity with whatever garbage you got going on.
Right.
What is the value of freedom to you?
Yeah.
Well, also, and just simply not buying into, well, if it makes you feel good, then I must do it because, I had people saying, it makes them more comfortable. I absolutely will be the jerk that will look somebody square in the eye and say, I couldn't care less what makes
I
you feel
don't
comfortable."
care.
I have no obligation to make you feel comfortable.
None.
No, it's just like the pronouns.
Yeah.
You can call yourself the unicorn of the year. I don't care what you call
Hey, that's my title.
Oh, but I'm not required to acknowledge it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's what's happening in the world. By the way, not today. Satan's coming your way here in just about 5.5 minutes or so. I think I had my 15 seconds of fame yesterday, guys.
I think you did too.
So those of you who are watching on Rumble or Facebook or YouTube yesterday, notice that, because I have to wear eye patches for a little while because of that eye surgery that I had. And I went to the Cardinals game yesterday. So I had my jersey on, my Cardinals jersey, and I had in this package of eye patches that we bought, one of them happened to be a Cardinal red eye patch.
Well, isn't that?
Yeah. So I'm like, well, that
appropriate?
matches the jersey. I'm going to wear that. And so that's what I
So
wore
cool
to the
looking.
game, which by the way, was really sunny. And so I have the dumbest tan lines ever now on my face. Really stupid.
We're gonna
I
call you
showed
what,
Gabe,
Patch Adams?
I
or-
don't know what
or
to call me.
Spot the dog.
Yeah, really. What was the dog's name in our gang? The Little Rascals.
Oh, Little Rascals.
Because it
Oh,
kind
was
of
it
looked
Spot?
like that.
Yeah.
Was it Spot?
It might have been.
But I'm sitting in the bleachers in kind of right center field, kind of where the Cardinals bullpen was, just not too far from that. And apparently I ended up on the Jumbotron because I've got that big eye patch on. And the MC for Busch Stadium, a guy by the name of Todd Thomas. I actually don't know him. I think you
Yeah, I know.
You know him. Yeah, I don't know him. And somebody said, "Hey, look at this," and they tagged me in his comments on his Facebook page because he had snapped a picture of me, apparently from a screenshot. I mean, as in taking a picture of the screen. So I think I was on the Jumbotron with my red eye patch, and he just says "Escape from St. Louis," referencing the Kurt Russell movie "Escape from L.A."
Plitskin.
Which I thought was really, really funny on there. And so people were having a lot of fun with that. And so I got that. A couple other people like, "Hey, did you see this?" And so I think I was up there real quick. And I'm like, yeah, that does not surprise me because I was a goofy looking guy in right center field with an eye patch. I walked to go get a snack at one point, and some dude who I think had already been drinking a lot, he walked by, and just as we were passing, he just goes, "Arg!" And I'm like, yeah, I haven't heard that one in the last 3 weeks. Good one. Haven't heard that one. Oh man. So you're making me famous again, right?
Oh yeah, you escaped from New York and settled in St. Louis. Hashtag STL cards. Let's go.
There you go.
Let's go.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Okay. So we just put that up. We just put that up on News Talk STL's Twitter page. Did we put that up on Facebook too?
Yeah, I can get it there.
Oh gosh. Okay, go to News Talk STL. I just saw it for the first time here. I think Kurt Russell's better looking than I am, but that's kind of uncanny right there.
It's really close.
Check it out. All right, just ahead. Not Today, Satan with Gabe Pfeiffer in about 4 minutes on 119 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Our biggest delay remains 44 eastbound between Highway 50 and a point just west of 100 Washington. Only the right lane getting by an earlier tractor-trailer fire, so we've got some major delays. Also, Route AT is feeling the heat as well as drivers bail off of 44. 55 north looks a little bit better. They have cleared a crash north of McNutt that really tied things up. Traffic is thinned out. Now, you still have some heavy traffic Weber up through Carondelet. That's due to the construction work and an earlier crash. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. See if they're better than your mom's. Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So Mayor Tashara Jones wants to keep on giving away free money. We'll get the update on that program 9:05 Friday with David Stokes from the Show Me Institute.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Selling your St. Louis area home is a big deal. It's one of the biggest financial transactions you will ever make. In St. Louis, call Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. That's Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She'll do a great job for you. Gloria has mastered the home selling process to help you maximize the sale of your home in this crazy seller's market. Why, Miss Lou? Gloria already has the buyers. Thousands of them looking for homes in your neighborhood at your price range. Fact is, with Gloria Lou, your home may already be sold. And while most agents make big promises, Gloria will sell your home at the agreed price and time frame, or she will buy it, guaranteed in writing. So please call Gloria Lou today, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com, GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in historic Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and I'm talking anything from the family pet to farm livestock. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. You can visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 in Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and online at oldtowncountrystore.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
My point about the governor there, it is absolutely about power.
I read this, I almost fell out of my chair.
News Talk STL.
This thing is just absolutely dripping with iron.
News, analysis, opinion. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
That's really funny, Gabe. You,
That is funny.
Gabe took that picture that was posted of me again. I think that was from the Jumbotron. That's what it looks like.
I imagine it was a Jumbotron.
Like I
if
said,
I'm the camera guy at the stadium,
and
I see you,
yeah.
I'm putting you on the Jumbotron.
Dude with a cardinal red eye patch on. Yeah, I'm doing that too.
Yeah.
And so my back was to the Jumbotron, so I didn't see it. I don't know. And then it was posted online, and it kind of made the rounds. And so Gabe found the comparison picture. So go to News Talk STL on Twitter
and Facebook,
and you can see the side by side comparison. Oh goodness. All right, it is 7:50. I'm Mike Ferguson with Gabe Pfeiffer and Ken Williams, and that means 7:50 on Friday. That means it is time for
Not Today, Satan. So here we go. It's the weird, the wacky, and the worrisome. These are the stories that make you sad.
Look all the devil.
Oh, hell no. This can't be happening, man. This ain't happening. Devil.
Somewhere to be sure.
Not today, Satan. Not today. Amen.
Amen. A fisherman got way more than he bargained for when he found himself with a shark in his lap.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah. Yeah.
Either he's really good at fishing or he's really bad at fishing. Yeah. He was surprised by it.
It's a bit of both. So a group of anglers were on a Sea Ventures charter boat off the coast of Massachusetts this summer, and one of them was attempting to reel in a large fish when suddenly a mako shark leapt out of the water and right onto the boat. That would have been my reaction.
Yeah.
So apparently these kinds of sharks will sometimes target a hooked fish, diving down into the water and then swimming up to attack from below and, swing and miss. And the mini jaws found themselves wriggling on the deck there. So
Wow.
Thankfully no one was injured and the shark was tagged before being released.
Now, a mako shark, those can get pretty good size, right?
Yeah, they're pretty good size. I think this one was about, just judging from the video I saw, maybe about 5-6 feet long.
That's a big shark.
Big enough to take a chunk out of your leg.
Yeah, they are the fastest of the shark species. In our next story here, police in California shared body cam footage from an unusual break-in call, catching a thief in the resident's kitchen. It was a big old bear.
Could it be Satan?
Just rummaging around. Quote, as the officers entered the residence, they observed the bear in the kitchen. The Facebook post said, it appeared the bear ate a freshly baked cake and rummaged through the refrigerator.
I don't blame them. I'm just saying I'm not mad at the bear for wanting the cake and the sweets.
No.
I get it.
God,
But is it just me or are we hearing about more of these stories where bears just kind of go right in? I mean, they're either just so accustomed to people or something, but we are hearing about bears in people spaces far more and more these days.
Yeah, I think maybe there's a bit of encroachment there going on, and then of course the forest fires have destroyed a lot of habitats, kind of forcing them one way or the other. I guess either deeper into the forest or a little towards the civilization side of things. So yeah, we're seeing these things a lot. The Simi Valley Police Department posted the video on Facebook showing what happened when a resident called 911 to report she and her son were locked in upstairs bedrooms while the bear rummaged through the ground floor.
Wow.
Police said the bear was startled. And the bear climbed a nearby tree, but descended after about 10 minutes before leaving the area. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And now in our last story here, and this one's a doozy here. First birthday parties are always about the pictures, right? You know, because you just want chubby little fingers covered in cake and icing surrounded by balloons. That's what everybody wants,
Because
right?
the kid isn't going to remember.
Kid's not going to remember.
It's like, do you remember what a great time you had on your first birthday? And you're like, no, I don't know.
No, that party is for you, right?
Yeah.
But that image, though, of the, was not exactly what one mom had in mind when she decided to go with the satanic theme.
Hell no, to the no. Yeah,
So I'm coming over there.
Okay, well, do I have the pictures? Let me see
The
if I can
satanic
find the pictures.
theme.
No, not that one.
Okay, well, yeah, we can find it, but I got to see that.
See, I'm revealing all of my secrets here. Wait, where is it? There it is.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's something. It's something. So let me get back to the story here. Janeth Zapata wanted to throw a special celebration for her daughter Lilith Alexa and thought a traditional bash with colorful balloons and bunting just wouldn't cut it. So instead, she got dark balloons, baked a cake with a pentagram on it, and dressed Lilith in black before placing her next to a pinata resembling Baphomet, the goat-headed deity used in satanic rituals.
No, God, please, no, no.
Why?
Okay.
No.
No, and why?
I just noticed two things you just said regarding names there.
Lilith.
Lilith. Okay,
Yeah.
so Lilith is the mythical first wife of Adam that a lot of like feminists and other left wingers like to point to. You've heard of the Lilith Fair concert tour that I don't know if that's still around or not, but
I don't think so.
she wouldn't obey Adam, so he cast her aside, and then he got Eve as that's the Lilith. Did you say that the mom's name was Janeth?
Yes.
Janeth?
Yes. Janeth
Okay.
Zapata.
So you look at let me tell you the significance of that name when it comes to like a satanic evil story. My ex-wife's name was Janeth.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
Satanic
go.
evil story.
And there it is. Yeah. Well, the names are significant here. Now, Janeth shared photos and videos on TikTok and got quite a lot of attention. One of the videos, which racked up a whopping 2.3 million views, shows little Lilith dressed in black and a horned goat demon nearby. So, yeah. Yeah, needless to say, and it's a cute little It's a cute little horned goat demon.
It's a very fluffy,
man.
fluffy cartoonish
Fluffy
one.
cartoon goat demon. Yeah, no big deal, guys.
Right.
The pentagram's not upside down, so it's not officially satanic,
it's
right?
Fine. Nothing could go wrong with this.
Nothing wrong.
Nothing,
Yeah.
No
it's
indoctrination
fine.
there. Come on.
No, not at all. So guess what, guys? The devil is not a fun party theme. So when it comes to a Beelzebub baby birthday bash, I don't care how cute your kid is. You know what I'm saying.
Look all the devil.
Oh, hell no.
This can't be happening, man. This ain't happening. Devil.
Somewhere to be sure.
Not today, Satan. Not today. Amen.
It's amazing how people, look at stuff like that and they do want to make it kind of cartoonish.
Oh yeah, well
in so many
they
ways.
think it's fun and
So
cute.
did the mom say why she was doing this? Was she like making a statement or just wanted to be different and weird?
She said we are not. I mean, she had to answer a lot of questions
Oh, I'm
on
sure,
her
yeah.
TikTok. And one thing she did say was, no, we are not Satanists. I see there are many news sites that put out my daughter's party with lies. We are not Satanists.
Well, it's grooming. I mean, the kid's got to grow up and at least acknowledge that something about it if she remembers it.
It's like, why would they say that just because of the pentagram and the devil?
She actually said the party didn't have anything satanic.
Other than
well, okay.
The entire theme.
All right, just ahead here, September 11th is Sunday. Are we forgetting? And also, do you have any memories, reflections, reminders for us? Let's talk about it. We're going to make plenty of room for you to be involved in that conversation. 314-912-1019.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for the great team at All Solutions Pest Control. All Solutions is the pest control company Christine and I trust with our home because they don't cut corners and they take the time and use the best products available to help protect your home at the highest level possible. Call All Solutions Pest Control today at 636-486-7888 and learn more about our special $67 introductory offer or visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Is your portfolio positioned for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. We have experienced tremendous economic changes in the last year. Today, historically low interest rates and spiking inflation present new risks and opportunities for investors. If you haven't made changes to your investments in the last year, it's time for a portfolio review. With 100 years of combined experience, our team can help you prepare for the risks relevant to today's investors. Contact the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel to request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Britain's official period of mourning is underway as people grieve the loss of Queen Elizabeth, who died yesterday at the age of 96 after serving a remarkable 70 years on the throne. In London, correspondent Jill Lawless says the prescribed mourning period will end in 10 days.
Between now and then, there will be all kinds of sort of unprecedented events, really, in the UK. Already today, we'll have gun salutes in tribute to the Queen. There'll be a special church service. You see spontaneous mourning with people gathering outside Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle to leave flowers or to reflect.
In Canada, Governor General Mary Simon says the Queen was much loved and returned that affection.
Her Majesty cared about people, about our well-being. This was clear every time we spoke. She cared about Canada and all the unique stories that make up our beautiful country.
The audio from Canada's CTV network. Republicans say President Biden's divisive speech last week shows that he and his party are desperate heading into the midterms.
Former Missouri Senator Jim Talent says when he watched the speech,
I was astounded on every level.
he says the president appeared determined to sow seeds of deep division.
I mean, when did we see this before?
Talent tells the Salem Radio Network it's clear the Democrats are struggling and have two main goals heading into November, including shoring up their own base.
So you shouldn't have to take these measures. And the other is to shift attention away from all the issues which the voters say are the most important.
Talent says those include inflation, crime, and troubles at the border. Bob Agnew reporting.
President Biden visits Ohio today, groundbreaking for a $20 billion computer chip manufacturing plant in the Columbus area. Dow futures up 262. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The first conscious act in organizing our people is to let them know who they are.
From executive producer Larry Elder and director Justin Malone comes Uncle Tom 2, a deeper look at the true history of Black America.
There is no country in this world that a Black person would rather be, unless, of course, they grow up in this country.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Uncle Tom 2 uncovers the Marxist plot to demoralize America, using false racial tension to destroy capitalism, replace God with government, turning Black prosperity, faith, and patriotism into a perceived state of discontent, victimization, and anger.
There was an intention to use Black people to affect change.
They're fed a lie that is so deceptive, they actually believe the opposite of that which is true.
Uncle Tom 2 with Brandon Tatum, Fody Bauckham, and Shadow Jackson. Watch on demand or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
44 eastbound still showing a slow go approaching 100 Washington from Highway 50. They were working to clear a tractor trailer fire from overnight, and at last update, only the right lane was getting by. Now, Route AT is not a good alternate. It's really backed up. 44 eastbound, the exit to Lafayette is also shut down. We've got a tractor trailer overturned on the ramp. Otherwise, we're picking up heavy pockets 64 east, close to Spady to Big Bend. Bridge Complex downtown isn't too bad this morning. 55 north, Bayless up through Carondelet. Give yourself a couple of extra minutes. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Patchy fog, otherwise pretty nice again this morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s across the metro area under clear skies. Pleasant afternoon, a warm one, the high 86 with the lower humidity. The humidity starts to climb, the clouds build overnight, a few spot showers on Saturday, but most of that should be south and east of the metro St. Louis area. There is a chance for rain on Sunday morning, and it will turn cooler, 85 on Saturday, mid 70s on Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by All Solutions Pest Control, 636-486-7888, or visit them at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hey folks, here's great news for active aging seniors. The Kanega Watch, the only medical alert smartwatch with built-in fall detection. Yeah, the Kanega Watch is much different than the other guys. It's a stylish, discreet watch you can wear all the time. Get help through the watch in one of three ways. Your voice, pushing the watch's alert button, or have the fall detection connect you to a U.S.-based 24/7 monitoring center who'll speak to you through your watch and can send help to your GPS location nationwide. And get this, it can do that even if you're not responsive. This is true 24/7 peace of mind for you and those that love you. Order your Kanega Watch with a full refund 30-day trial period. Call now, 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. That's 800-413-7152.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. Mike Ferguson.
Just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I love Jesus. He was my superhero.
Get up! Get up!
winter is like being able to read every toilet wall in the world.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, get up. This is your cousin God.
Somber memorial happening this weekend, although I think fewer of us are remembering it. And we all promised ourselves that we would. September 11th is Sunday. So here's kind of the last hour of the program here before Vic Porcelli takes over is kind of open lines here. You've got really whatever time you want to call in and give us your memories, your reflections, your thoughts on this. 314-912-1019. Earlier today, we spoke with former Governor Scott Walker from Wisconsin, who's now the president of the Young America's Foundation. And I thought he had some really poignant reminders and reasons to say this is why this is actually still important. Other aspects of our history are important too, and they do tend to fade from memory over time. And those of us who are, of the ages that we're at, and most of the people I think who are, part of this program through listening to us, we never probably thought at the time back in 2001, and then even in 2011 at the 10-year mark, that we would ever get to a point where people are just starting to forget. But I think that we are getting to that point because 20 years is generally a generation, and we've got a generation that just doesn't remember. And I think it starts to fade from our memories as well.
Yeah, Mike. And then Gabe had mentioned something that maybe for some people that's part of the healing process when they forget. But I kind of disagree in that, I think that, just like what Scott Walker had said, I had said earlier, that if you forget, then you can repeat. And
right.
And that's what we really don't want to make that mistake because it will happen again.
314-912-1019. Whether it's your story of where you were at the time, how it affected you, what are the reflections of this? And the most direct comparison I could think of for the United States would be Pearl Harbor. And obviously at the time, FDR was president, a day that will live in infamy. I'm sure that there was plenty of talk of we will never forget. But unless you're a history buff, kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
But that's also been how many generations since then? I mean, that was, the 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many my grandfather fought in World War II, and he's been gone for years. With 9/11, immediately we came together, and then immediately we sort of divided after a little while. Not immediately, but after a little while, we sort of divided. But the lessons from that, I think, are not just interesting, but I think the lessons from that are changing, partially because of politics, partially because of political correctness, partially because the farther we get away in history from that day, the more that it sort of obfuscates, and the more people tend to rewrite history on that day. But you remember the idea that no, we'll forget sooner than you would think, just is nothing that would ever come to our mind at the time.
No, and Pearl Harbor, took generation after generation, and we're still remembering Pearl Harbor. And I think that has to do with the day. I think it has to do with the way people were back then. It seems like, when you compare the time span that people have started to forget Pearl Harbor, and then you compare that to what the quickness that people have forgotten with 9/11, it's almost like we're in a different time because it really seems like it has happened faster this time.
My parents, about 18 years ago, I think, took an anniversary trip to Hawaii. And as part of that trip there, I want to say it was their 35th anniversary, but I don't remember. They were married almost 50 years when my dad died. And I think it was their 35th. And they made it a point to go by Pearl Harbor. And because my dad was telling, some of the stories of, the instructions, show respect, when you get there, hats off, and seeing that there, and we still have that. But my dad was in his early 70s when he died, almost 5 years ago. And so his generation, probably because he was the son of a World War II veteran. So that generation was the immediate offspring of the generation that fought.
Yeah.
Very, very easy for them to remember, even if they, weren't there at the time. Now that, I'm the grandson of a World War II veteran, I have adult children now who don't have a clue. We've told the stories. I mean, I've told them the stories. My grandfather told them stories when they were little. I doubt they remember that. And it gets easy to get lost in time. And with 9/11, it was such a shock to the conscience. I'm sure in the similar way that Pearl Harbor was, because we never would have thought we would have been just attacked. Of course, in that case, it was by another country. In this case, it was by a terrorist organization. And at the time, though, at Pearl Harbor, we were not a superpower. We were not the military might of the world. Yeah. And we weren't the strongest out there. I mean,
no, we weren't.
My lifetime, I've grown up with the United States being the superpower up until maybe the last couple of years, where I don't know that we still are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think somebody would say that's probably by some definition we still are. But when 9/11 happened, it was such a shock to the conscience, not just because of the loss of life and because of the destruction and because we all watched it live on all of our homes and on all of our offices. And I remember I had a business meeting later that day, and I'm sitting there, I think, in an Applebee's, and we didn't get any business done. We're just staring at the TVs the whole time. And then, but the idea that somebody would have the gumption to attack the United States on our soil, we were shocked and infuriated when our bases are attacked in Libya.
Yeah.
And then to have that happen, and then to have to be forced to say, maybe we are vulnerable, we are not impenetrable. And that changed so much of our mindset. Then you get into the politics of it, then you get into the culture of it, then you get into everything that goes along with that. 314-912-1019. What's your memory? What's your reflection? Are we, forgetting? And I don't even know. I'm sure there's some memorials, Ken, around somewhere on Sunday, but I haven't received any notices of them. And I mean, media outlets, we tend to get those things, and I haven't seen any in my email.
No, I haven't either, Mike. And, I think one point you made was that people from the days of Pearl Harbor would tell their grandkids about it, and then that would move forward. Maybe that's what we're doing right now. I know that when my memory of 9/11 was I was at home getting ready for work, saw it on TV. At that moment, they thought it was a small plane,
right?
Like a two-seater or something like that. And they were like, this is just so weird. I get to work at the River radio station. We just so happens had a group of all the stations, we had like 35 people in one room, and we're looking at the TV, and I walked in and they said, wait a minute, what's going on here? And it hit another building. And at that point we were all like, that's when we lost our innocence, I believe, in a certain way. On the line, we have Daryl.
Hey, Daryl, you're on News Talk STL.
Good morning. Hi, guys.
Hey, Daryl.
Yeah, I want to thank you for everything you've been doing. I've been listening all through the pandemic. I thought you guys were doing a great job of covering that. Big question mark there. But I want to tell you where I was on 9/11. I can't tell you who my employer is, but I was watching the news all day long. So I saw the towers go down, and it was very upsetting, and I was in shock and very angry, of course. But I have to tell you, you guys, you ought to know about the afternoon around 5 o'clock, Building 7 of the World Trade Center collapsed in under 10 seconds.
Yep.
And, people have studied that, and that thing went down. And the architects and engineers of 911 Truth basically came to the conclusion it was imploded. And the news organizations knew that was going down because they were announcing it. They were saying, hey, we got to get people out of that building because it's going down. And so, that's a big question mark I think needs to be asked by a lot of people.
All right. Thanks, Daryl. Appreciate you being on News Talk STL. You got some thoughts and remembrances of that as well. 314-912-1019. Just ahead here, I want to give you an update on the effort to block the vote on recreational marijuana in Missouri. But as we promised earlier, if you still have thoughts on remembering 9/11, we've got time for it today. This is 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Inspiration, you have the soul sewn up, it is no more.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com.
Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that? Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your curtain call. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up,
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We may be seeing some improvement shortly on eastbound 44 between Highway 50 and 100 Washington, but at last update, they were still out blocking the right lane with an early tractor-trailer fire. It happened overnight. MoDOT was expecting to have that cleared in a few minutes. The off-ramp from 44 eastbound to Lafayette is closed. We have an overturned tractor-trailer. 64 east has some pockets between Lindbergh and Big Bend. Some of that is bumper-to-bumper. That's due to an earlier incident. 55 north is better. Carondelet to Gasconade is pretty heavy and slow. Bridge Complex downtown is all right, just a little busy. This report sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Perfectly crispy on the outside, perfectly fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. See if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Hey, everybody. This is Paul Kurtman, host of the Paul Kurtman Show on News Talk STL, but I'm also the president of PR Kurtman Investments. The market is down and inflation is up. So if you have questions about the investments in your portfolio, please let me help. Just send me an email by visiting freedomportfolios.com. There's no cost. The market might be uncertain, but that doesn't mean you should be too. Contact me today, Paul Kurtman, by visiting freedomportfolios.com.
Fox News commentary.
AOC tells us she won't be president for this reason. I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out next.
Hi, this is Lisa Booth. With so much instability and inflation in the world, I recommend protecting your retirement by diversifying with gold and silver. I recommend Bishop Gold Group. Bishop Gold Group sells physical gold and silver delivered to your door or put directly in your IRA. Call now and tell them Lisa Booth sent you. Dial pound 250 on your mobile phone and mention keyword Bishop Gold or visit bishopgoldgroup.com. You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dialed text message from Bishop Gold Group.
AOC graces the cover of GQ and uses her interview to feel sorry for herself. Oh, the irony. When asked if she would run for president, she retorted it's unlikely she'd ever be elected, not because she lacks basic skills, intelligence, or popularity with the general public, but because Americans hate women. That's an odd assertion given we currently have a female vice president, likely chosen in large part because she is a woman. But furthermore, that's a pretty easy cop-out for AOC and one she's pulled before. If you don't like her and her radical socialist ideas, it must be due to racism, sexism, or misogyny. Wrong-o, Miss Ocasio-Cortez. It has zero to do with any of those excuses. It's worth noting AOC doesn't so much as acknowledge the historic elections of her fellow women like Myra Flores or Winsome Sears. They are both women of color, but also happen to be Republicans, so I guess that explains it. AOC, you don't speak for women, and I find it pretty insulting you feel that you need to dump your baseless victimhood complex on our entire gender.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I don't believe the Democrats are stupid, but I think they don't care.
Live and local.
And embarrassed himself at that press conference. He's become kind of clownish, right?
Do you think he's going to run?
This is News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
And if you go to the News Talk STL Facebook page or you go to the News Talk STL Twitter page, you'll see Gabe had a little fun. I was at the Cardinals game yesterday, and me and my eye patch apparently made our way up to the Jumbotron or the big scoreboard screen, and somebody snapped a picture of it so you can see that there. But it was kind of fun because I was in the bleachers in center field out there by the Cardinals dugout or bullpen rather. And I'm sitting there, one eye completely covered because I'm still recovering from that surgery for my retina. And the other eye is the eye Britton Vision worked on. And that's the eye where I had my laser vision correction done, BrentonVision.com, by the way. And I'm sitting there, and it's actually dawned on me during the game. I'm sitting there in center field, past center field, and I'm looking up, and I wanted to check what time it was. I looked at that little clock that's up there behind home plate, up there by where all the media booths are. And I could read it clearly from literally probably 440 feet away. I still had no problem following the game, even with just one eye, because that's the eye that Brenton Vision fixed. Thank God that Brenton Vision was there, and I was able to get my vision corrected from their laser vision correction procedure. They have 7 different ones, by the way, and every single one of those is customized to you, because it wasn't just that I could watch the ball. By the way, when Yadier Molina hit 2 home runs, I could watch it clearly from center field, track it all the way out. If it were not for this vision being fixed in my right eye, because the bright procedure for me was just to have it done in one eye. You don't have to have both eyes done for everybody. Some people don't have to have both of them like me. And if this were not done the way that it was done, I would be really in a world of hurt right now while I'm recovering from having my left eye operated on for the retina issue. And so Brenton Vision, which, by the way, Jason Brenton is a Harvard Medical School trained ophthalmology surgeon. Other doctors come to St. Louis from all over the country to have him specifically and his team do their laser vision correction. And that should tell you a lot about the quality that you get with Brenton Vision. But if it weren't for that, driving into work would be different. If it weren't for that, just simply working in the office would be different. Everything would be different. Everything would be worse. So thank God I got this done. This is not a luxury. This is not a vanity procedure. This is something that is an investment in your health. Your vision is an important part of your health. Don't leave it to chance. And you don't have to spend every year going up to the strip mall to get a new pair of glasses or a new set of contact lenses. You can get that long-term, sometimes permanent fix to your vision through laser vision correction. 314-375-2020. That's the number to call. I'll say that number again here in a second. Set up your appointment. Get your consultation done. Tell them you heard about them through Newstalk STL and Mike Ferguson in the morning. Do what I did. Call 314-375-2020. At least get your questions answered. At least go get your exam. You're going to learn so much about your body. And this is not the same exam that you get when you go to the strip mall. This is far more in depth. You're going to learn so much, and you're going to be empowered to make the right decision for your health, not just your vision, but your health. 314-375-2020. Check out BrentonVision.com as well. And there's a self-test right there on the screen, and you can get an idea of whether or not you're a candidate for this. And by the way, if you were told in the past that, well, you're not a candidate because of whatever, age or astigmatism or whatever, check it out anyway. That's not necessarily the case anymore. 314-375-2020. I would not trust anybody else with my vision other than Brenton Vision. Lawsuit's been filed in Missouri in Cole County Court. There's an activist who spends an advocate, I should say. I don't know about activist, but there's an advocate who works with, sort of the coalitions for like Drug-Free America and some of those. She wants, she spends her career trying to convince people not to do drugs, particularly kids, and that's absolutely laudable. I don't want anybody doing drugs either.
Yeah.
And she's suing to try to stop a vote on the Legal Mo 22 marijuana legalization ballot issue. So here's what's going on. Here's the update to it, is that a doctor, I think she's a doctor, Joy Sweeney, has filed a lawsuit arguing 2 different things. So the courts have to decide 2 things. One, she says that the signatures weren't enough to get it on the ballot. Now you may say, wait a minute, it's already been certified for the ballot, which is true. So what happened, apparently, she's arguing, and apparently this did happen, is that many signatures or some signatures were determined to be invalid by local election authorities. And then the Secretary of State's office reviewed those and said, no, those are good. Those are legal. And so they counted them. And then Legal Mo 22 barely got onto the ballot. So she's arguing that the Secretary of State's office should not have overridden the local election authorities whose job it is to determine those signatures. Now, the courts are going to have to figure that out themselves. I don't know that we've got precedent on that in Missouri, but we're going to find out. The second thing that she's arguing, and this is an interesting point, I think this is a more nuanced point, regardless of what you think about whether or not marijuana should be legalized, and I think that it should, even though I don't do marijuana, I don't smoke it, I don't do anything with it. She's arguing that the Legal Mo 22 referendum has too many different topics on it. And our state constitution says that these things are only supposed to have one topic on it. This has to do with obviously legalizing recreational marijuana, the process for getting a license to cultivate and grow. There's also some language in there about expunging criminal records for those who have convictions related to marijuana now, and then there's a couple other things. Well, attorneys for Legal Mo 22 say it all has to do with recreational marijuana, therefore it's all one topic. So that to me is a more interesting argument. Now, the fact of the matter is that we do have a problem in Missouri with people abusing the referendum process. And we have had multiple things on the ballot, and a couple of them have been passed by voters that do have very different things on it, but it's just one package, which should not be on the ballot. So in that case, I think she might have a more interesting point, although I would be shocked, guys, if the judge actually takes this off the ballot, because judges are incredibly hesitant to say, yeah, if enough voters sign the petition, put it on the ballot, we're not going to come in and strike it down and take it off the ballot. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think her argument about the signatures in the Secretary of State's office overriding local, striking down the signatures is going to go anywhere. I think it's going to get ruled against that. But I think she's bringing up an interesting point about too many things on one referendum. I mean, this is a 39-page referendum. When you get to your ballot, you're going to see about 3 or 4 paragraphs, but it is a 39-page referendum that people are voting on. And so I think that there are a lot of questions about it and whether or not it should be in the state constitution versus state law and whether or not it does encompass too much stuff. We're going to talk to John Payne from Legal Missouri 2022 in about a week and a half about all of that, but it's not going to go anywhere. I'm pretty sure we're going to vote on it anyway.
Weren't we talking about how if it's becomes an amendment to the Constitution, it's a lot more difficult to change to amend to it than if it were a law.
Right,
so
right.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, the state constitution, I mean, a lot like the U.S. Constitution, should be simply the framework, defining rights, defining roles, defining responsibilities, defining limits. And what's happened is that with our fairly permissive referendum process in Missouri, you can do one of two things. You can say the state legislature won't put this law into place, or they won't strike down this law, or they won't change this law. So we're going to get enough people to vote and change the law. Okay, well, 50% plus one can do that. Okay. And then it can be changed again by voters. It can be changed by lawmakers. And so there should definitely be a referendum process. But if you don't have a good handle on it, then you get what happens in California, where special interest puts something on the ballot every election cycle. And you could have 25 referendums to vote on, and you have no idea what you're voting on.
Muddies up the Constitution.
Very much it does. Now, what happens now is the exact same vote total, 50% plus one, alters the state constitution. So what special interests are doing are saying, well, if we got to get the same number of votes anyway, let's go ahead and put it as a constitutional amendment.
Mm-hmm.
That way the legislature can't say, oh, this is messing stuff up, we're going to go in and change this, because the legislature can change a law anytime they want. And with this right here in the state constitution, you're taking things that should be in law and you're putting it in the state constitution. So you may still like what they want to do, but in the state constitution, it locks it in a way. Now, if you're going to lock it in, okay, I'm open to that conversation, but it should be more than 50% of the vote to do that. It should be 2/3 or something like that.
Interestingly enough, this is kind of a comparison between what a direct democracy sort of situation would be versus a representative democracy and how that would work. Because right now you've got the 50 plus one is like, hey, majority rules, right? Majority of people who vote, and they're making law as opposed to voting for individuals to make law. Right. And it makes it messier, as you can see. Like direct democracy doesn't really work that well. We have examples of it all over the world, all throughout history. And this is one of those things I think we need to put more into a republic style way of governance.
And referendum and direct democracy, I'm great. I think there should be a place for it.
Sure. Yes.
But it shouldn't be 50% of the people who just show up.
Yeah, threshold should
on
be
that
higher.
particular day. Threshold should be higher for state constitutional amendments. If you don't show up to vote on a referendum and statute, well, that's on you.
Yes.
But the state constitution is so long lasting, and we're just seeing everything over and over because it costs a couple $1 million to get this on the ballot and probably another $1 million to run a campaign for it. So essentially what's happening is we're allowing special interests to buy parts of our state constitution.
Yeah.
Now, that's not my reflection on Legal Mo 22. They're just dealing with the system as it is.
Right.
So we're still going to have the debate over whether or not this particular proposal is a good idea. All right. Do you have any reflections? Do you have any memories, thoughts on this Sunday's anniversary of 9/11? Also, interesting survey came out. Should there be an age limit for politicians? This was fascinating results. I'll tell you what they were right around 8:35 on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcasts, articles, and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com. The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent extremism.
The soul of America.
News, analysis, opinion.
Is not the ruling class in Washington.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. The North County Police Cooperative will hand out free steering wheel clubs today to Kia and Hyundai owners at James McGee Park in Veneta Park. The clubs will be available to residents of the specific neighborhoods they patrol, and people must also bring the vehicle to pick up the club or have the registration paperwork with them. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is now offering a $7,500 reward to anyone with information on the theft ring targeting local gun stores. The ring, believed to include 5 to 10 people, has burglarized or attempted to burglarize at least 5 gun stores in the St. Louis region, including Metro Shooting Supplies, Michael's Arms Accessories, Osage County Gun, and 2 Academy Sports locations. Today through Sunday, downtown Clayton will be celebrating the St. Louis Art Fair. Along with art, there will be live music, local food, comedians, and activities for children. Frontier Airlines is introducing a new flight from St. Louis to Tampa, Florida, beginning November 16th. The nonstop flights will be available 4 times a week, flying out of Terminal 1. And in sports, the Cardinals fell to the Nationals 11-6 at Busch last night, although catcher Yadier Molina and pitcher Adam Wainwright tied the major league record of 324 starts by a battery, and Molina hit 2 home runs. Next up, the Cardinals head to Pittsburgh for a 3-game series. Tonight's game is at 5:35 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
We're doing better with 2 exceptions. Still showing an incident 44 eastbound before 100 Washington. That was a tractor trailer that burned overnight. They've only been letting the right lane through while they try to clear this mess. So traffic is still backing up east of Highway 50, and Route AT is not a good way to go. That's really jammed up as well. The ramp from 44 eastbound to Lafayette is closed. This is another tractor trailer incident. This one didn't burn. It flipped over, but they do have the ramp closed, 44 eastbound to Lafayette. Otherwise, things are starting to clear out. This support is sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. See if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Patchy fog, otherwise pretty nice again this morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s across the metro area under clear skies. Pleasant afternoon, a warm one. The high 86 with the lower humidity. The humidity starts to climb. The clouds build overnight. A few spot showers on Saturday, but most of that should be south and east of the metro St. Louis area. There is a chance for rain on Sunday morning, and it will turn cooler. 85 on Saturday, mid-70s on Sunday. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Everyone who was saying that there is collusion, to use the favorite word of the media and the left, between big tech and big government, is 1,000% correct. It's not misinformation. They were suppressing and censoring it because they said, we have no way of authenticating whether this is Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, the New York Post should be suing everybody right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
NewstalkSTL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The distrust of the federal government is at an all-time high.
Executing a search warrant on a former president has never been done before.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Just before we came back from that information segment, Gabe summed up this survey that I'm going to tell you about here in a second really well. You just said, how old is too old?
Yeah.
When it comes to politicians, can you be too old to be in politics? So the reason we asked that question is because there's an interesting survey that was done by YouGov. I'm Mike Ferguson. It's 8:37. Gabe Pfeiffer's here. Ken Williams is here. And there was basically a 2-part question. One is, should there be an age limit for those in office in America? So should we limit how old somebody can be and still be in politics, in elected office in politics? And then the next question was, well, if so, then what's that age? What should it be? Here's the one most fascinating thing I saw about this. The results, the one thing, talk about bipartisan agreement of Democrats, 71% of Democrats said, yeah, there should be an age limit. 75% of independents and 75% of Republicans agreed. So over 70%, according to the survey, over 70% of Americans said at some point you are just too old. You should not be allowed to be an elected official. Agree or disagree, guys?
I agree. I think we do need a maximum age, mostly because, I mean, if you just look at the performance right now, maybe it's a little too contemporary of me to look at things this way, but right now the incumbency has always been a problem. I think where you get people who are entrenched and it's hard to get rid of them. And we've attempted to solve that in certain instances with things like term limits and things like that. But I think even more so, you get people who are, pushing 90 essentially in these areas. And it's tough. It's tough to, I know you want to be nice to grandma, but,
right.
But at some point it's like, okay, you need to retire.
Yeah. And we need that industrial knowledge, as we call it, where they get the experience on the job. And we need that to bring up the people who are new and show them the way as well. But then at some point, and we've seen this with this insider trading accusations of Nancy Pelosi, for example, she's been there so long. She's written the rules. I mean, she knows the ins and outs. She can completely deny it and then walk past and get away with it. So I think that we need to have something. I chose a number, Mike. It was a number that I chose earlier, 70 as the age.
You said, yeah.
And it's because you're at an age where you can retire, you can still have things you're going to do, but you're not in there so old that you can't even walk. Have you ever seen Jerry Nadler try to walk?
Oh, geez.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, he just it'd be easier to roll him.
Right.
He shuffles.
It shouldn't be that way. And then speaking of which, our president, I mean, he's the same way. I mean, come on.
Yep.
I'm looking at, by the way, I want to get your thoughts there. I'm looking at the list of the oldest members of Congress right now. Some of their ages is going to, wow.
I could not believe when you told me at Grassley's age.
Yeah.
She's well, and here's the thing too. This is true in spite of the exceptions, in spite of the truly vital, 80-something-year-olds who are just rolling around. You wouldn't think they were in their 80s. It's still true that for the most part, we probably need to move on from these people and let them fade into the sunset, go off into the sunset, and let the new generations kind of come in having learned from them and then proceed.
Well, and here's the thing, though. Like, for instance, Dianne Feinstein is the oldest member of Congress, and she's 89 years old.
89.
89. She was born in 1933. Chuck Grassley from Iowa is about to turn 89 years old.
Wow. How old will they be when they end their terms?
I don't remember which terms they're in because they're U.S. senators.
Okay, and that's yeah. How long is that term? 3 years?
6 years.
6 years.
Richard Shelby, senator from Alabama, looks like he's 88. Let me see here. Jim Inhofe is obviously Republican from Oklahoma. He is 87. And who do we have? Oh, Bernice Johnson. She's a Democratic member of the U.S. House. She was born in 35, so she would be 22. That'd be 87 as well.
Come on. These people were born in the 30s.
1933.
In the 30s.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, so you've got, but at some point, where do you draw a line? Can we arbitrarily say, okay, you got to have at least this much experience because you got to be 25 years old to run for the House.
Mhm.
You got to be 30 to run for the Senate. You got to be 35 to run for president.
Right.
You've got to have at least this much life experience. But at this point, you got too much, or you're just fragile, and it's time to get something else in. So it's an arbitrary number, but that's the question: is should we have an arbitrary limit?
Well, I mean, if you start with average lifespan, right? Like at the very least, that puts a number on something.
Yeah,
it's like most people live to 80 or so.
Yeah,
I mean, like that's the average. Right, life expectancy 78 or something like that.
And
then backtrack a little bit. It's like, okay, now here's your retirement.
The most common age when they asked how old is too old was 70.
Right,
40% of surveys said that.
Yeah, so you back 10 years off of life.
We have listener Zena Hackworth on the line.
Hey, Zena, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, gentlemen, this morning?
Doing well. Hey, I'm here too. Okay, so Zena, should we have age limits on elected officials?
I don't think so. And the reason is because I think there are sometimes people who are older, they're just getting into their groove at times. And I do understand term limits. If someone's been there like Nancy Pelosi since the Ice Age, then yeah, we should go ahead and have term limits for anyone in office. But some people just want to retire and then maybe run for office and have an awful lot to contribute. As long as they can physically keep up and mentally keep up, why stop them?
I think it's a fair question.
I think it's a fair statement. But Zena, what about the people that can't do it cognitively and they're being shielded by, I don't know, the media
or power of incumbency too, familiarity?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes that's going to show like it does in the presidency right now. It shows, and we need to have something in place, perhaps, to say, we know that you're not meeting this, and so you're going to have this cognitive test done and see what the results are going to be.
But don't we normally have that?
We should, but maybe we should put something in place that stops all the shielding as well, especially when it's obvious.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I just wonder if we can craft it so, like a scalpel is essentially what you're looking at, is like, as opposed to the machete, which is I think the tendency in government is to use the machete.
I mean, at one point, Dianne Feinstein, there were reports that she doesn't appear to be well. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I mean, she's 89 years old, and I know that some situation faculties are being questioned. I think that's the most polite way I can say it. But her staff was going to the Senate floor at times and saying, well, this is what she wants to vote. She asked me to vote. We don't know that.
Yeah,
we just know that somebody who was not elected was actually casting a vote.
Right. But we can also apply those same standards to someone like AOC, who is young, and she's still not really straight in the head as well.
Oh, she's way too young. Yeah. Maybe we also need to raise so we need to make a very slim window basically of public
productivity in politics.
I don't know.
Hey,
I just think that we shouldn't limit someone because of a certain age, especially if we see that they have an awful lot to offer. And there are people out there who, my grandmother passed away at the age of 96 about 3 years ago, and she was as sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
And she got around, lived in New York. She got out there and walked, and she was in better shape than all of us. And she was very sharp, and she would have been a great person as a candidate if she wanted to run at the age of 90.
It's a good argument. It's a really good argument.
But not we can't hold the same standards, to everyone, because if someone is mentally ill or mentally off and can't figure things out, we can't hold the same standard hold them to the same standard as someone who is extremely sharp.
Yep. Hey, Zena, great hearing you. I appreciate you being on News Talk.
Thanks, Zena.
Thank you so much.
See you, Zena.
All right, 314-912-1019. What do you think? Should there be an age limit on politicians? I think it's a fascinating question. We'll talk about that right here on 1019-94.1 News Talk. Yes.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Just checked I-44. Again, I can still see a backup east of Highway 50. That'll continue almost to 100 Washington, where they've been working to clean up an overnight tractor-trailer fire. Route AT Old 66 is also jammed approaching 100 West. Another issue for 44 drivers, the eastbound 44 off-ramp to Lafayette is shut down. We've got an overturned tractor-trailer there. There is heavy traffic back to about Grand, so give yourself just a little extra time there. Their support sponsored by Wendy's. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside, perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks today. See if they're better than your mom's. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Columbo and Katie.
The D.C. mayor declares emergency over migrant buses from Texas and Arizona. We'll discuss this and get the weekend weather forecast at 2:45.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you'll be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL. Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
This is so interesting. YouGov does a survey and asks people, should there be an age limit on politicians, meaning elected officials? And 70+% of the country, according to their survey, says, yeah, we should have a limit. I mean, there are some jobs where you have to mandatory retirement age. I mean, airline pilots, you have a mandatory retirement. I mean, even if you are fully capable of flying that airplane and you've got decades of experience, like, nah, sorry, them's the rules, man. you got to go. Should that be the case for those running for state legislature, Congress? In this case, we're talking about Congress and the presidency. And so what do you think? All right, 314-912-1019. Got Virginia up first. Is this the Virginia? I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
It is Virginia Cruda from the day, Virginia. All right, what do you think? Should there be an age limit on politicians?
You know, I was listening to Zena, and I agree with her some and some not so much. I think that you either have to say we're going to make an arbitrary decision or not. It's going to be the machete or nothing, because you got people like Chuck Grassley. You were telling he was 88 years old. Well, 2 years he won a push-up contest against a 19-year-old female college student. So, I mean, this is a guy who's actually pretty sharp and in pretty decent shape. But there are a lot of 89-year-olds in Congress who aren't.
Right.
And you can't parse that. You can't say. But the one thing I really disagree with, and Tim Jones and I have gone rounds on this one, I think he is actually more with me on this. I do not like term limits, because I agree with what Ted Cruz said a couple of years ago. We already have term limits. They're called elections. And if you don't vote people out, like think about the people in California who are not voting out Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they can't vote for her anymore, why wouldn't they vote for somebody worse? I mean, if they're dumb enough to keep electing her, it's got to come back to the electorate at some point, because it's somebody elected her in the first place.
Oh yeah, but there is a power of incumbency without a doubt. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that there is. I think that if you reform money in politics, though, that's going to work toward what you want a little bit better than simply saying arbitrary, because it feels a little bit like picking winners and losers. And you get rid of a lot of the good people with the bad. Like, I mean, Tim Jones got term limited out.
Right. Paul Kerman.
Could he not done one from Missouri?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are things that, and that would be my issue with term limits. So, you know, it's a mixed bag. It's always going to be a mixed bag, and then you just have to figure out what's going to give you the best possible mix.
Yeah. Virginia, I mentioned during one of our information segments to the guys, I said, you know, I understand, and I think there are good faith arguments on, but I truly get both sides of the argument on term limits. Completely get both sides of them.
Yeah.
And there are strong points on both sides.
There are.
All right. That was Virginia Cruda from the Daily Wire, dailywire.com. Check out her work out there. All right. Who's next?
Good, Dave Stover.
Dave. Hey, Dave, you are on News Talk STL. Age limits for politicians? Yes, no?
You know what, Mike? I really have to say that's a trick bag in and of itself, just like Virginia said, but I look at it from the constitutional side of it. It's constitutionally provided for with the minimum age.
Yep.
But you're going to have a constitutional amendment to even consider this.
That's true.
You know,
when's
the last time we had more than 51 senators agree on anything? and then how many of them had to be hit with the proverbial rod and to hold along and made to do something to toe a party line?
Yeah.
So, you know, the constitutional side of that would be problematic at best to even consider that. And then you have the whole age thing, you know, you're picking on me because I'm old.
Yeah.
Or you're picking on me because I'm this, or the class system. I don't think it's possible.
Maybe what about this, Dave? What about
it was good?
Hey, Dave, what about if they go through a series of tests, like at a certain age they reach, they have to do like a biannual or annual test? You know what I mean? Cognitive test.
You can't do that. That's picking on somebody for their age, because look at it, like was previously mentioned, AOC. I don't think she's competent enough to tie her shoes. You know, I have to look at it like that. So it's either the broadsword, all for one for all, or nothing. You just take it as it is and move on with life.
Whoosh, my brother.
Whoosh, my brother. Here in Vic, I gotta admit, Vic, I'm cheating on you with the Mike show. I love Mike's show. I love your show. But I'm always gonna say whoosh, my brother.
Whoosh, my brother.
I'm proud to be a Trumpy.
Right on.
Thanks,
right
guys.
on.
Have a great morning.
Thanks, Dave.
You too,
Appreciate
Dave.
that.
A little jealous hearing Zena on the show this morning. It's okay. Whatever.
Whatever. It's all right.
Well,
it's fine.
But here's the thing.
It's fine.
the age minimums are arbitrary, and they're in the Constitution. Dave's right. So and here's the thing: is we were also talking. It's like, remember when we were kids, and you heard the idea that somebody's 50 back in the 80s. That sounded so old, and a lot of people thought of that as old. And frankly,
it kind of was.
The
at the
typical
time.
50-year-old at that point was not as vibrant as so many 50 or 60-year-old and 70-year-olds. Listen, I play baseball. I am teammates with a guy who's in his 70s right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, and he can still play.
It's funny. Ball players are my measurement on that. Like when I was a kid, ball players were these older guys,
Yeah.
And then there was a time when we were the same age, and now ball players are kids.
Now they're kids. There are literally there were some guys in Major League Baseball who are younger than my. There was a guy yesterday, for instance, Newt Barr's birthday was yesterday. He played in center field. He's 25 yesterday. I have a 26-year-old son.
Right.
Real quick, we got Mark.
Okay, Mark, I've got about 60 seconds for you. What do you think? Make your case.
Well, I think that age limits would be appropriate if they put a little waiver in there that you can be above a certain age, but you've got to pass a cognitive ability test in order to run.
I'm with you, Mark.
Yeah, that's what Ken was arguing there. Hey, Mark, appreciate you being on News Talk STL. And
Thanks,
as was mentioned a moment ago here, Vic Porcelli, obviously in the studio now. I mean, I get the concept of it. I don't know how you enforce it. Or how you write it to where you can make it truly objective.
Age or cognitive?
Age. Well, the cognitive thing too, because who writes the test?
They made Trump take a cognitive test.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they have your driver's license. You reach a certain age, you have to take tests more frequently.
My wife gave me one yesterday. It's like 10 questions. Nailed it.
I was going to say,
nail it good.
John Brown, 42 Main Street, Chicago.
There you go. All right. Vic Porcelli Show coming your way here at 9:04. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget, listen, Sunday is September 11th. We are truly forgetting. Let's not contribute to that. Let's keep those reminders going. All right. This is 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, Tim Jones here with Tony Colombo for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner at the Wallner Home Selling Team. If you're thinking about taking advantage of the market and selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now. Put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. Rodney and Jen have the experience and work ethic that sets them apart from